This video is packed with tons of Dollar Tree crafts you are going to love.
We're going to start with this Dollar Tree hat. You can also find these during the summer and spring seasons at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to start by removing the tags and the ribbon that came with it. It's not hard because the glue, it's not sticking very well. Then I'm going to take a scarf, whatever scarf you want. I love this one, so I'm just going to place it around that center portion. And then the key here is just kind of keep snugging it and tugging it and scrunching it just so that you have a nice set piece around it. Then you're just going to make a very simple bow. I'm going to show you 3 ways you can style this hat using one scarf. The very simple bow, and then just fluff it as needed. This would be super cute to wear to the beach or to a park or anywhere you want. I love this style. The colors of the scarf really complement the hat very nicely, and it's one of my favorites. The next way is you just want to loosen up that bow, and then you just want to turn it into a very snug knot. That's it. This is actually my favorite, and I am going to keep it this way for me to use this summer. I think it will look so pretty for a picnic or even just a stroll at the park. The next one is just by adding some quick little florals. You can find these at Dollar Tree. You can add any color you want. Just add them in there as needed. You can hot glue them if you want. And look how pretty this looks. It would be perfect for Easter Sunday or a picnic or even an outdoor wedding. Wouldn't that be pretty? For the next hack, I'm going to take this wreath cross, and then I am going to take another one of those beautiful scarves and just cut it. This one was actually an infinity scarf. Now make sure that when you fold it in half, just like I did, you are folding it with the brighter design on the outside. Then we're going to start at the bottom, and we're just going to simply wrap the cross all the way from the bottom to the top. I'm not overly concerned with the middle portion where the cross meets because we're going to cover that later with some florals. But right now I'm just focusing on making sure that I'm hot gluing as needed and wrapping it all around where everything is covered. I thought that I can just do it with one way without having to cut, but I did have to cut on one of the ends and then restart on the other side. No big deal, but it just gave me a nice flexible way to cover everything. Once I had it in place nicely hot glued, you're going to see that it's nicely covered in the middle. You can see a little bit, but no worries. We're going to cover it up. And first we're going to add one of these foam balls from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to cut it in half so that I have one side that is flat. I'm going to poke 2 holes and then thread a zip tie right through it because we are going to tie this to the center. That way we can add some florals. I am going to add a little bit of hot glue to make sure it's nice and secure and just zip tie it nice and snug. Then we're going to cover up that foam using some moss. This is moss from Dollar Tree. Again, most of these items are from Dollar Tree because it's so inexpensive. Even the zip tie is from Dollar Tree. Hot gluing the moss is very easy. You just want to add hot glue and carefully just place it. And then I'm going to go all the way around and at the top. And now it's time to have fun and just add florals. I'm going to start on the outer perimeter. I'm just going to add some of these faux boxwood, add them all the way around. And then I'm going to add some different other florals that I already had on hand, whether it's from Amazon or Dollar Tree, in colors that complement the scarf nicely. And we are just about done with this one. And I gotta say, these colors are stunning. I love the colors. I love how they complement the cross. Perfect for spring, perfect for Easter. I am in love with it. For the next hack, I'm going to take another one of those scarves. This is going to be another very easy one. I'm also going to take these tulips that I am obsessed with. I'm going to take the nice, beautiful scarf, and I'm just going to fold it in half, making sure that the ends nicely meet each other. Then I'm going to place the tulips right in the middle and just fold them up. Don't worry if you can't see them yet. We're just going to tug in those little sides and then scrunch it in the middle very nicely, and not too tight, just snug enough to hold them. I'm going to place a nice complementing ribbon, tie it in the center, and once you tie it, you can pull it up if you need to. Just tug it up just a little bit if you have to. Then I'm just going to make a very simple bow once again. You can always just leave it in a knot, but I think making a little bow looked really cute. I'm going to fluff it just a little bit. I'm also going to cut the ends in a dovetail design so that it looks nice and finished. Then I'm just going to fluff it nicely and bring that top bottom towards the bottom and then to the side, and then the back to the side. Fluff it, making sure that the flowers are where you need them. Pull them out, bend them to the sides as needed. This is absolutely gorgeous. I think this will look great in a console table or even a coffee table on top of some books. Wouldn't it be gorgeous? For the next hack, I am going to take this 1x3 from the hardware store and I'm going to cut it into 20-inch pieces. I'm going to have 3 pieces that are 20-inch long, and then I'm going to have smaller pieces for the sides. I'm just going to mark and cut where I need them because we're creating a wooden planter. I'm going to distress it a little bit using my meat tenderizer. I'm just going to start hammering it out and then I'm going to sand down any edges where there are splinters, making sure that it's smooth and not splintery. I'm going to use a combination of wood glue and brad nails, and I'm just going to make a very simple box. All right, so we're just about done building the box. And again, just wood glue and brad nails did the work. I am also going to just stain it. I'm going to use a real stain this time, and I'm just going to stain it using the Verithin Golden Oak. I think it's just a beautiful farmhouse tone, and you can start seeing all those little distress marks that I did with the meat tenderizer. Once it's completely dry, and it doesn't take long, I'm going to start placing some floral foam from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to slice it in little, like maybe 1-inch or half-inch pieces, and I'm just going to start putting them right inside. This is so that we can add some florals and they have something to hang on to. Once it was completely covered, I'm just going to start adding some of these greeneries that my mother-in-law gave me one Christmas. I think it was 2 Christmases ago. And I'm just going to start placing them, filling them in, and some of these Dollar Tree purple flowers, and again, just filling it in. Now, normally I would add something like moss to the inside to cover the foam, but this time we're going to use this beautiful scarf. This is the same one from earlier, and I'm just going to start using it as a filler. So I'm just going to start snugging in through the inside, and I'm going to do the sides, the front, and the back. This is going to add color, complement the nice purple tone in the flowers, but also just add a nice chic spring look. I'm going to finish it off by adding some of these green leafies from just a bundle that I had already on hand. I'm going to add them here and there on the edges. And that's it for this one. What a beautiful way to use this scarf. I think it adds such a beautiful texture, and you can do this to any planter. The next scarf hack, I am going to take this bunny that I thrifted so long ago. I think it had great bones. It was solid wood, but boy, was it neglected. You can tell that it was outdoors for a long time. I removed everything from it, and I'm just going to sand it down as smooth as I can, although I still want it to have a rustic look. I'm going to brighten it up using some fresh chalk paint. This is Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white. I'm just going to give it one coat here and there, but I am going to make sure that I leave some spots where it just looks a little bit rustic and farmhouse style. And then once it was completely dry, I do want to use some of the items that I had on it, but I do want this bunny to be on the back side instead of the front side. So I'm going to take the little planter that it came. I'm going to remove the nails that I already had on it. I'm going to sand it down smooth, and then I'm going to give it a fresh coat of paint, and this is Rust-Oleum Milk Paint in the Highland Blue. Once it was completely dry, I am going to then add this to the side of the bunny, kind of like toward the bottom. And then I'm just going to wood glue as well as brad nail it right onto it. This is going to hold very well. And then I am going to make a little bunny tail. Again, I want this to be the back side of the bunny. I didn't have anything that was big enough to look good for the size of this bunny, so I'm going to make my own tail. I'm going to cut off a piece of white towel from Dollar Tree and add some pillow stuffing. I'm just going to start hot gluing as needed and then hot gluing it to the back of the bunny to look like a tail. Now that the bunny is attached, we're going to add some florals to the little flower pot that the bunny already had. We're just going to staple them in place because this is solid wood. Stapling, it's a great option. And I'm just going to add some different spring and summer tones to it. And then it's time to bring in another beautiful scarf. This one we are going to use as a scarf, but we're going to put it right around the neck of the bunny. I think it's going to look so cute. Now, because this is the back side of the bunny, I did want to add the bow to the side of the bunny. That way it just complements it nicely and it looks nice. I'm just going to finish it off by adding some moss to the bottom of the florals. This is going to cover up all the stems and the staples nicely, and it just gives it a finished look. I cleaned it up and trimmed any excess moss, and look how beautiful this bunny looks. It is perfect for spring and Easter. I think it's a great find at the thrift store. I'm so glad I found it. It does have a lot of splinters when I cut it, so I'm just going to sand it down smooth, and that way we're not going to risk any splinters. And then once it's sanded, I am going to wipe it really well, making sure it's dust free, and then I'm going to give it one heavy coat of Waverly chalk paint and the white. Once it was fully dry, I'm going to take this presentation board. You can find these at Dollar Tree. They're made out of cardboard. If you do not have cardboard boxes, this is a great alternative. I'm going to cut a few pieces. They're going to be 2 inches by 3 inches wide. And then I am going to cut 6 of them because we are going to make a little banner for a sign. Once I had 6 pieces the same size, I'm going to mark where I need to find the middle on the bottom. And then using my blade knife, I'm just going to cut angle cuts so that we can have a little flag style bottom. I am then going to take several pieces of this crafting paper. I get several of these books, whether it's at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and they have beautiful designs. So I picked 6 different designs that really complement each other. And I'm just going to Mod Podge it onto each little flag and then cut the excess using my X-Acto knife. Once I had them covered, now it's time to create what will be on each little flag as well as the board. I'm going to use my Cricut Joy to cut out the word spring and also hello. So I'm just going to place each little letter, one in each flag, spelling the word spring. I am now going to use my Crop-A-Dowel to cut out 2 holes on each little flag, and I'm going to try to do it as evenly as possible so they all match in size. And then I'm just going to take some string that I already had on hand from another project. I am going to add a little bit of tape to one end. That way it can thread through the holes nicely. I'm going to start from the back, threading it through the other hole, and then just doing that on all 6 flags. Now that I have all the flags threaded, I'm just going to place it on top of the board and just arrange them how I want them. They're going to overlap a little bit on the ends. I actually wanted that to happen. So I'm just going to hot glue them in place so that way they're not going to move around on me. Once I had that in place, it's time to add the hello on the top. This beautiful design was already available in the Cricut design space. So I'm just going to weed out the design, and then I'm just going to use some transfer tape, place it on the top. I'm going to use a scraper to make sure it attaches to the transfer tape. And then I'm going to remove the transfer tape, making sure that the design stays on it. Once I have that, I'm just going to place it where I want it. Once again, I'm going to use my scraper to make sure it attaches to the board, and then remove the transfer tape to reveal the design. I'm going to flip the board over now, and I'm just going to hot glue the remaining excess of the string, and then we're going to add some more to the top so that we can hang the board. And that's it for this one. I gotta say, it's one of my favorites from today. I love the design. Those little flags are so pretty. I love it. For the next wood craft, I'm going to take this piece of scrap wood. You can tell it's been around for a while. I have no clue where it came from, but I am going to cut it into 4 pieces. Now, these 4 pieces, one's going to be larger than the other. Each one's going to have a different size. I'm going to take it outside to my miter saw, and I'm just going to start making some cuts. If you do not have a miter saw, you can use a miter box, which I'll show you here in a little bit how you can use that. Once I had the pieces cut to the size that I want them, again, I'm just going to sand them down smooth, making sure there are no splinters and that they are soft to the touch. And then I am going to hot glue these little beads that I already had on hand. You've seen them before. These I already had stained for a different project that were left over, and I'm just going to hot glue one on top of each board. So what I'm creating here is a little wooden family representing my own family here at home. Now the little tiny baby one, I am going to paint using Waverly chalk paint and the moss. Then the other one, which is a little larger, is going to be what would be my husband, and it's going to be in a light blue. And then the pink one's going to be my daughter, and then I'm going to be in a yellow one. I just thought this was so cute. Once I had them painted and they were fully dry, we're going to join them together. And this is how cute they're looking. I'm just going to use some hot glue, nothing fancy, and I'm just going to place them in a pattern that kind of complement each other in size and color. Once I had them in place, I am going to join them all together, wrapping you around with some lacy ribbon from Dollar Tree and making a very simple bow in the front. All right, so I'm just going to add a cute little flowers right there, and that's it. Look how beautiful this little wooden family looks. I love it. It's going to go right in my spring decor this year. For this next wood craft, I'm going to take these 2 pieces of scrap wood. These were literally in the scrap tin that we have for burning in the fireplace. I'm just going to sand them down just a little bit to remove splinters and smooth them out, and then dust them really well. Then I'm going to take the smaller one. I'm just going to paint it black using Waverly chalk paint and the ink. And then the other one I'm going to paint in the Waverly chalk paint and the moss. What we are creating with these is some wooden bugs, and I think it will look so cute. Wait until you see these. All right, so here's that miter box I talked to you about. You can buy these on Amazon. I do have them on my Amazon store. I'm just going to grab these paint sticks, and I'm going to cut them into 3 sizes. Now, they're as close as possible in size, but they don't have to be exact. Now I'm going to take this beautiful napkin. I think I got this one at Amazon if I'm not mistaken. And I'm just going to Mod Podge, adding each little wood piece onto the napkin where you can see some of the flower design. And then once I had them attached, I'm just going to cut off the excess, sand down the edges for a smooth finish. I took 2 other paint sticks, and this time I did cut them in 3 pieces again, and I'm going to paint them red in the Farmhouse Red by Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I'm going to let those dry, and then we are going to drill a couple of holes on top of each wood piece. This is going to be where we can place some hot glue and then some pipe cleaners to create some antlers. We are creating these little bugs that are going to be perfect to add to your spring or summer decor. And then I did take a pencil just to curl them and add some character. Now we are going to attach those pieces that I Mod Podged the napkin to what will be the back of the little bug. And I'm just going to place 3 on each side, making sure that they are in the shape of a fan. That means they're just going to be facing opposite ways just to create a fan look. I'm going to add some googly eyes to the fronts, and then I'm just going to make some little red cheeks just to add a little bit more character. Look how cute that looks. All right, moving on to the next one. This one's going to be a ladybug, and I did the same thing. I'm just going to drill a couple of holes, add some hot glue, added some black pipe cleaners, and I'm going to curl just the top portion of this one. Then I'm just going to add some black dots to the already dried paint sticks, and this is going to be the wings of the ladybug, and we're just going to hot glue them to the front. Now, I ended up not needing so many, but I wasn't sure how many I was going to need. but I did end up using 4 of them. Now 2 of them I did have to trim just a little bit using these shears, which I do have in my Amazon store as well, and I did touch up with red paint where I needed. And that's it for these cute little crafts you can make using wood pieces. These were literally scrap wood, and I love the way they turned out. For this next wood craft, I'm going to take this wood round. Now, this was not scrap wood. This was from Dollar Tree, but I just thought I'd include it because it turned out so beautiful. I removed the jute string and I painted it yellow. This is a bright yellow by Dixie Belle, and I'm just going to give it one coat and let it dry. Then I'm going to place some tape and I'm just going to make some stripes going across. It's going to look like a pizza, but it's not. It's going to be a lemon. And so I'm just going to paint the little stripes and I'm just going to crisscross them all the way around till I have the shape of a lemon. All right, so we are almost done making these stripes, and then now it's time to add what will look like seeds. I'm just going to take a paintbrush and just mark here and there where I want them to have like it to look like it was seeds. Then we need to make a rim. So I have this bowl. It's a pretty large bowl, and it happens to be about an inch smaller all the way around. So I make sure I centered it as close to the center as possible, and then just painted it white. Now I don't want full coverage. I did want it to have a little bit of a distressed look once I had it completely painted. Once I removed the bowl, I was in love with this lemon. Look how cute this looks. Gorgeous. All right, we're going to add some greenery. These are from, I believe these are from Walmart. I'm just going to grab a couple branches, hot glue them to the top, and I'm just going to start stacking some greenery and florals to add texture and character. So we're just about done with adding the florals. I did add some nautical rope from Dollar Tree, the white kind, to the back so that we can hang it, but you can add anything you want to it. And I think this one turned out absolutely gorgeous. What a beautiful, fresh looking wood round you can place outdoors in a covered porch or indoors. I think it would be perfect for any decor. And it's my recent trip to the thrift store. I hit the jackpot, my friend. These vases and these containers are so gorgeous. This one, you can tell it was a former candle, but I brought it home because I love that wooden cap. I quickly gave it a quick scrub. It wasn't in horrible shape, but it did have some dust. I removed all the stickers from the bottom, making sure that it was nice and clean. And then I'm going to take it outside and spray paint it with this Rust-Oleum satin spray paint in the white. Once it was nice and dry, it looks so beautiful and has that nice sheen to it. Then I'm going to bring in these Dollar Tree rub-on transfers. These are absolutely brand new. I've never seen them before, and they have parchment paper instead of plastic, which was really interesting. This one here has a bee shape and some flowers, but I'm going to use the little bee one because I just think it would look adorable on this vase. Now I'm going to place it right on the top. And the key that I've learned with these rub-on transfers is you want to keep them as sturdy as possible. If they move a little bit, it will smear on you. I'm just going to scrape it on, but you can use anything you want on hand, either a credit card or even your fingernail might even work. Once I had it rubbed on, I'm just going to remove it, and it has that natural distressed look that makes it look very vintage. I am obsessed with the way this little jar turned out. Once I place that wooden cap right back on it, stunning. Let me show you what it looked like before. And this is what it looks like now. It is fresh, it is brand new to me, and I love it. I cannot wait to display it in my own home decor. Love it. This tin bucket is gorgeous. I love the shape and I love the size of it. It's made for dog biscuits, but I'm going to use it in a different way. Again, I'm going to give it a quick little scrub and remove the price tag from it. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it outside and I am going to spray paint it in the same satin white Rust-Oleum spray paint and gave it a few coats very lightly until it was fully covered. Back inside and we're going to do the same thing. I like placing a towel underneath the container, that way it keeps it from moving. And this rub-on transfer is stunning. It has a script to it and I just thought it would be perfect for this container because it was large enough to cover the front area. I'm going to place it right in the center of the front and just scrape it on like I did the previous one. Alright, so I'm just going to lift the parchment paper and look how beautiful that looks. It has, again, that distressed look. I did not seal these, but you can if you want. They didn't seem like they were going to rub off after they were nice and dry. Let me remind you what the container looked like before. And this is what it looks like now. I think it's so stunning. I love this white, fresh, farmhouse style look. But of course, you can use any color and design you want. This little milk jug was such a score. It is a beautifully designed one. I love the shape, but the style was not quite my style. So I'm just going to give it a quick wipe. And again, I'm going to remove the price tag and then take it outside. And once again, spray it white with the satin Rust-Oleum spray paint. Gave it a few coats until it was fully covered. And then once it was dry, I just brought it right back in. And you can see that it's nicely covered. I'm going to place it on my towel and I'm going to bring in another rub-on transfer. This one has a different script on it and a little flower in the center. I'm going to cut it off and I'm going to place it right in the front. Nothing new, just going to scrape it once again. And now I'm just going to remove the parchment paper and reveal the design. Again, it has a nice natural distress to it that I really loved. This is what it looked like before and this is what it looks like now. What a beautiful transformation. This little milk jug is staying with me. I'm going to display it in my home decor this year. We have tons of crafts using cans today. These three are similar in size. We're going to need some white chalk paint and I'm just going to give them each 2 coats of it and then of course let it fully dry. Once they were dry, they look nice and bright. And we're going to bring in this beautiful rub-on transfer set from Essential Stencil. The perfect thing is you can actually cut off whatever piece you want from it, peel it off from the back just like a sticker, place it on the surface you want to attach it to, and then just scrape it on. That easy. This little scraper came from Essential Stencil, but you can use anything you have on hand that can be used as a scraper. You just want to keep scraping and attaching and then lifting the plastic as you go slowly until the entire design is transferred. I did rub it on just a little bit with my fingers. It is beautifully on there and I am so in love. And then I did the same thing with the other 2 cans. Now that I have all 3 designs on the cans, we're going to start placing them kind of like together. I want to create kind of like a V, and I want the designs to show a little bit more towards the front. So I'm going to tilt them just a little bit towards the front, and then I'm going to wrap around this beautiful lacy ribbon from Dollar Tree. I'm going to make a very simple knot and then make a bow and leave it kind of large and hanging because I kind of like that look for it. Very simple, very easy. Anyone can make. Then I'm just going to add some florals. These are just some from Dollar Tree. They have that purple tone and the greenery that complement the design of the rub-on transfer. And I gotta say, this is absolutely gorgeous. It will look great with flowers, but also with some pencils and markers. What do you think? For this next can hack, I'm going to start with this thrifted sign. It's a cabin themed and it's not quite my style, but I love the size and how durable it was. I am going to sand down the surface just a little bit to scuff it up a little bit, and I want to wipe it down really well, making sure there's no dust left behind. I gave it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white. I was not looking for perfection because I am going to distress it a little bit. And while that dries, I am going to take 2 other cans. These are regular size cans. I'm not worried about the little sticky part being on there still because you're not going to be able to see that. I'm going to give both of them 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the Serenity Blue. Now that the board is completely dry, I wanted to have a plant look. I'm going to take a permanent marker. Using my yardstick, I'm just going to go and make some lines right across the board. Then I do want to distress the edges a little bit, so I am going to use my palm sander and just focus mainly on the edges. But I am going to distress here and there in the center. That way, those lines are going to look a little bit more muted and not so perfect. That did the work. Now I am going to wipe it down again, making sure there's no dust, and bring in a beautiful stencil. The one we're going to use is this one that says, it talks about wildflowers. It's scripture from Luke. And I gotta say, I love stencils that have scriptures. And I'm just going to start stenciling it using Essential Stencils stencil brushes. And I'm just going to make sure there's little paint on the brush and just use a circular motion technique. This is going to ensure very little bleed through. And I'm going to use different colors for different areas of the stencil. Doesn't that look beautiful? All right, so now we're going to attach the cans to each side of the stencil. Just going to screw them in with a screw, and then we're just going to add some flowers. Of course, the stencil says consider the wildflowers grow, and I just love adding just little flowers here and there to just look like they're wildflowers, different tones, different shades, and I think this one is absolutely stunning. It is so large. I love the fact that we used cans, and I love the fact that we used a beautiful scripture stencil. Love it. For the next can hack, this is not a can, but it's certainly a container that we had here at home. And I'm also going to use some caulk from Dollar Tree and a scraper. All right, so I wrapped around the floral design around the container, and I'm going to tape it in place. Then we're going to start having some fun here. It's a bit messy, but it's fun. I am going to put caulk all over the stencil, and I'm going to use the scraper to apply it and spread it evenly. I'm going to leave this in real time. Normally, I speed it up for you, but for now, I'm just going to leave it in real time because I want you to see how I take my time, how I'm spreading it, and I'm not afraid to just go ahead and spread. It will be okay. If you have spackle, this works really well with spackle as well. So again, just going to show you how I did it. I kept applying the caulk section by section and then just scraping it on. All right, so now that we are done scraping it on, I am just going to remove the stencil just like I would any other time. And I think it's so satisfying to watch. I love it. Look at the detail. I just can't get enough of this. All right, we're going to let that fully dry. I'm going to set it right in front of a fan. And once it's dry, it is dry. Then it's very textured. So I'm just going to give it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the color Moss. And you're going to start seeing all that beautifully designed stencil really pop. And I'm just so in love with it. I'm not worried about painting all the way to the top because we're going to cover that here in just a little bit. There you go. So beautiful. I love that texture and how beautiful that stencil really looks. This ribbon is a very sparkly one I had left over from a bridal bouquet that I did several months ago. I'm just going to start hot gluing it to the rim. Leaving that excess ribbon to the top is going to add height as well as just cover all of that thread. Using hot glue was plenty sufficient, and I'm just going to hot glue it all the way around. You can add any florals to this, but I decided to just keep it very simple and add some greenery from Dollar Tree. And look how beautiful this looks. Would you believe this is a container that we were going to throw away and recycle? Love it. For For the next DIY craft, I'm going to take this beautiful stencil, again from Essential Stencil, and this leftover piece of wood that's already been stained because it was part of the frame that I built several years ago when I updated my guest bathroom mirror. Now I'm going to take this piece and I'm just going to mark 3 times because I want to cut 3 pieces that are going to be the same height as my stencil. I'm going to bring in my Craig jig. If you've never used a Craig jig, this is a tool that would help you create pocket holes so that you can join boards of wood together very nicely. And again, I'm going to leave this in real time so you can see how it works and how it's really not complicated at all. I'm just going to add the wood right onto the machine, clamp it down, and then use the drill bit that comes with the kit and just make some pocket holes. I'm going to do the same thing to another board, but not the middle board, and you're going to see why here in just a minute. And this is what the pocket holes look like. And there's 3 right there. I did avoid that knot that was in that piece of wood, but it worked out well anyways. All right, so I did the same thing to the third board, but again, that middle board, we're not going to do it because it's going to sit right in the center. So I want to face the pocket holes right onto that middle board. These are 1 1/4 screws. They are specifically pocket hole screws. So I'm going to switch out my drill bit to the one that came with the kit. And then we're just going to start placing them in each hole. I'm going to line the boards together and you're going to see the boards separate and then suction right back in. Really easy. This is in real time. I'm not speeding this up. I'm going to do that on this board as well as the other board. All right, so now that I have the board nicely built, look how sturdy this is. I'm going to bring in the beautiful stencil. This is a prayer that says, "And thank you for the house full of people I love. Amen." Isn't that gorgeous? Anyways, I'm going to start stenciling it again using an Essential Stencil brush and using the circular motion with very little paint, and just go down using Waverly chalk pen in the white. Once it was completely stenciled, once again, I'm just going to remove it and you're going to see how beautiful this looks. It's so crisp. And remember, you can use the stencil over and over again. That is the beauty of it. Look how this sign turned out. Absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favorites from today. I love the crispness of it and I love that it has that beautiful prayer. And these garden fences are the perfect crafting item you can find currently at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to take this leftover one from a previous project and I'm going to cut off a nice rounded one. And then I'm going to just kind of smooth things out using my blade knife. I'm going to take a little wooden shelf from Dollar Tree. You can find these in different sizes. And I'm just going to attach it with hot glue to the bottom of the fence. These stakes are the ones that come on the bottom of each fence section. And I'm just going to cut 4 of them. And I'm going to use them as little legs for these little chair that can be used in any decor for this spring. I'm going to hot glue them in place, 1 in each corner, reinforcing with more hot glue as needed. Then I'm going to give everything 2 coats of Waverly chalk pen in the white. This is going to make everything look seamless, like it all belongs together, and it's going to brighten it up. I did want to add something to the actual chair, so I got one of these rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to start rubbing it towards the bottom right corner. Now, I'm not looking for perfection. I do want it to have a little bit of distressed look, so I'm just going to rub it as needed, but not press on so firmly that it's going to completely attach. With these little faux flowers, I'm just going to make a little bundle, and I'm going to tie it together using some nautical rope from Dollar Tree and hot glue it in place. Then I am going to attach it to the left side of the back of the seat. And that way we're going to hot glue it and tie it with some jute string. That way it's going to look nice and festive. And this one is totally my favorite from today. I love using these fences. For the next Dollar Tree hack, I'm going to take this piece of 2x4 that was left over from other projects. I'm going to sand it down very smoothly. It did have tons of splinters, but using my palm sander makes it so much faster. But if all you have is a sanding paper or a sanding block, you can use that as well. I'm going to dust it really well, and then I'm going to give it 2 coats of Waverly chalk pen in the white. now I'm going to bring in a full set of the garden fence. I'm going to remove the stakes from the bottom, and then I'm going to cut off the two middle pieces, being very careful to cut as smooth to the edge as possible so that it looks nice and even. These shears I get at Amazon, and I do have on my Amazon store if you want to check them out. My Amazon store is always linked down below in the description box. Once I had it cut, I'm going to smooth it out once again using my blade knife very carefully. If there's any pointy areas, this is a perfect way to do it. Sanding it down just a bit also works, but then I'm just going to grab my drill and I'm just going to start drilling some holes, some larger ones and then some thinner ones. This is just going to allow me to have some places where I can place some faux florals. Once I have the holes all in place, I'm going to bring in the fence and then I am going to hot glue it to the front. I did sand it down just a bit to remove any splinters that the drill may have left. Because the fence is so lightweight, the hot glue was perfect and sufficient to hold it in place. Then it's time to add some faux florals. I always have florals on hand. These are from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut off excess stem and place them in each hole. I want to make sure that I have a combination of greenery as well as some purple ones that I think is going to complement it very nicely. All right, so now that I have all my florals in place, I'm just going to start putting some of this moss from Dollar Tree right inside those empty spaces at the base. This is going to make it look nice and full, and it's just going to truly look like a garden fence, what it's meant to be. But this one you can use indoors or even outdoors, and I think it's absolutely perfect. I love this one. It stands on its own because the 2x4 is thick enough. I think it's gorgeous. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take this hanging shelf from Dollar Tree. This is a larger one. I'm going to remove everything from it. It does come with rope and a ring, but we're not going to use that quite yet. So now I'm going to take some of these leftover fences and I'm going to cut off the little arrow that each have. I'm going to need 4 of them. Once I have them cut, I'm just going to kind of cut them, making sure that they're as evenly sized as possible. And then I'm just going to hot glue one on each corner to cover the little hole. Be the first who knows all of your deepest secrets. Can I be the one who wakes you up before you miss your ride? And then I'm just going to give everything 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk bin in their beautiful pink tone. Be close to you, and I want to show you something new. You gotta know. Every day I got your back, yeah, and then I'm going to grab one of these Dollar Tree temperature thermostats. I think they are gorgeous. This one's actually metal. I love this one. Usually I get the ones that are plastic, but this one is so much more sturdy. I'm just going to screw in a screw onto the wood board. That way it's going to hang very securely. And I'm just going to add some rope to the back using some hot glue. And then I'm just going to make a little tiny swag using some leftover florals, some boxwood, and some yellow flowers. And I'm going to tie it in the center with a piece of that same rope that the shelf came in. And that way it's going to all complement each other. I'm just going to secure it in place with hot glue and then hot glue it to the top of the thermostat, right where that screw is. And that way it's going to hide it, and I think it's gorgeous. These colors are absolutely stunning. I would love to have this on my porch or even my back deck. I think it's stunning. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take one of their canvases. This is one of the flat ones. And then I'm going to take another piece of the leftover fences and I'm just going to cut off the excess of one, leaving one right where it needs to be. Then I'm going to use hot glue and I'm just going to hot glue it right onto the front of the canvas. I didn't even paint the canvas because it really didn't need it. I'm just going to hot glue it right there in the center. Then I'm going to make a small little swag. I'm going to take some of this deeper greenery and tie it in the center using some jute rope. And then I'm just going to hot glue it to the base of the fence. The sunflowers you can find at Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the stem and hot glue it to the middle of the swag and then add some jute string to the back so we can hang it. Here's another quick and easy one anyone can make, and you can add any florals you may have already at home. Here's another beautiful spring craft you can make very quickly. If you have any wood beads, I would take some jute string or rope or whatever you may have on hand, and you're going to want to string 6 little wood beads, leaving about 1.5 inches of string after you tie it. You're going to make another little swag. This one is going to have similar yellow flowers as earlier, and you're just going to wrap it around with some greenery on that empty space that was there and hot glue it in place. If you make 4 of them, this makes a beautiful spring napkin ring everyone will absolutely love. For the next spring craft, this Dollar Tree little chalkboards are awesome to make faux windows. Just remove the little back stick from them and then just join them together using hot glue. Easy and quick, and then we're going to give it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white. Once the window was completely painted, while it's dry, I'm going to make a little wreath. This is going to be a quick one. This right rind wreath is just one that I thrifted a while back, and I'm just going to take some florals, some yellow ones, some white ones, and I'm going to place them towards the right side of the wreath. Then I'm going to take some burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree, make a very simple bow, tie it in the center with some jute string, and then I'm going to hot glue it to the center of the floral arrangement. And then to place the wreath on the window, I'm just going to hot glue it. It's very lightweight. So I'm just going to place hot glue on the top and the bottom. And then I'm going to place it right in the center. To be able to hang the window, I am going to add some rope to the back. Again, it's very lightweight, so some rope did work. And I think it's so beautiful. You do not have to use white, but you can use any color you want. And it's such an easy craft. For the next spring craft, I'm going to take this little faux window from Target Dollar Spot. It's part of their winter collection. I'm going to remove the little glass portion. It's actually plastic. I'm just going to remove the little screws and then just peel off that portion. Now I'm going to take these rulers. These are wooden rulers you can find at Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the little black portion from it. And then I'm going to just make some cuts using my miter box so that I can have pieces that can work because I want to make a little window flower box for my faux window. Once I have them cut in place, I'm just going to hot glue them one by one until I have a nice little box. To give the little box a bottom, I am going to use some foam core from Dollar Tree. I just traced it onto a corner, cut it with my X-Acto knife, and then I'm just going to hot glue it in place. And that will be sufficient because the flowers that we're using are faux and they are just nice and lightweight. I'm going to start adding some boxwood and some flowers here and there that I have already on hand. And then I am going to just add a little tag. This little tag is from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to use one of their chalk markers and put Happy Spring. And then I'm going to hot glue it to the front and a little bit of a tilt so it has a nice in character. And that's it for this one. What a beautiful little faux window that you can use anywhere in your home for spring, and you can even use it for any season. You just have to change the florals. Using a Dollar Tree kitchen towels, they have such a selection every single season, and we're starting with this beautiful flower one. It's one of my favorites, and I'm actually making several with this style. I'm going to remove all the little little ties that have them, and I'm just going to fold them in half. We're going to create a very quick pillow cover. You've seen these before, and I'm just going to show you one way that I love creating pillow covers, especially if you do not have a sewing machine. I'm just going to place the pillow right on top, making sure that the design is where I want it to be, and I'm just going to cut off the excess towel from each end. Then I'm just going to fold it outside in, and then I'm just going to hot glue it. Hot glue goes a long way, my friends, especially if it's something that's going to be temporary, and you're just going to switch it season to season. So using hot glue and my little silicone brush, I'm just going to secure them in place and making sure that I leave one end open. Then I'm going to take the other flower theme. They complement each other very well. I'm just going to cut off another piece. This one's going to be a little smaller. And I'm going to cut another piece on the other end, making sure that it's nice and snug to the pillow. This one I cut off a little too small though. I would leave it about an inch larger, but nonetheless, it worked out really well. Once I had it secured, I'm just going to flip it inside out or outside in, and I'm just going to place the pillow right inside. You're going to see that this side is a little snugger than the other side, but it worked out well in the end. And then I'm going to place the other one on the other side. It's going to overlap in the center. The design's going to be nice and beautiful right in the front. And you're going to see that complementing floral design. I think it's so stunning. I love these. These will be great outdoors as well. But for indoors, it's perfect. All right, so now we're going to get on to this Dollar Tree banner. If you've seen them before, they have them in their crafting section. They're actually really good size. So I'm just going to open it up, and then we're going to start hot gluing towels. We're going to use the same design that we used earlier, and we're just going to hot glue each towel, each design on each flag. Now I left one natural color with the burlap on each end. And then I'm going to use my rotary cutter. It's just a little easier, and just cut off any little ends and corners using my scissors. I'll alternated the middle flags from the solid floral ones to the ones that said home sweet home. My friends, I want to invite you to stay till the end of the video. At the end of this video, I am going to show you a quick clip on how I transformed my fireplace mantle from winter decor to spring decor. So if you want to watch, just stay till the end. It'll be there. All right, so now I'm almost done covering the flags. Like I said, I'm just going to covering the middle ones and leaving two burlaps, one on each end. I'm going to take some of these greenery faux ferns. I get these at Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to cut off the little thicker portion of the stem, and I'm just going to hot glue it in between each flag. This is going to add texture, greenery, and to be honest with you, I feel like it brought everything together. You don't have to add these ferns. You can add any flower you want that you may already have at home. But these is so beautiful. I love the way it turned out. This is my living room mantle, and I just love the way it looks. For this next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take a leftover piece of that same towel we just used, the one with all the beautiful flowers. This is a piece that's about the length of the towel by about 5 inches wide. I folded it in half, inside out. I'm going to sew it on the long side, and then I am going to flip it outside in. And I'm not going to lie, this took a little bit. I took a dowel and I just started pressing. It wasn't like it took forever, but it did take some work. So now I'm going to take some elastic. You can find these at Dollar Tree Crafter Square section. And I'm going to cut off a piece. This is about a 7-inch piece. And then I'm going to stick a bobby pin to one end. This is what I'm going to use to thread it all the way to the end of the other side. Now make sure you hold to the other end of the elastic. Otherwise, it's going to go right through the what will be a scrunchie. These will be perfect for summer and spring, especially summer for the side of the pool when your head is all wet and you just want a scrunchie that will absorb the water. All right, so now that I had the entire scrunchie threaded, I tied the elastic, and then I moved the knots inside of the scrunchie, and then I overlapped the two ends of the fabric. Then I sewed it using my sewing machine again. I did this 2 more times because I wanted to create 3 of them. Friends, if you love reading blogs, I have a blog where I post my video tutorials into written format. I post every single week, and I'd love to connect with you as well. The link to my blog is down below in the description box. All right, so I finished the other 2. I sewed them, and look how beautiful these look. These will make a great gift for any girl. I love these. I'm going to keep one, and I'm going to give 2 to my daughter. It'll be perfect for summer. For this next Dollar Tree craft, okay, this has to be the easiest one. Maybe not. I think I have an easier one. All right, so I'm going to take this beautifully designed towel and a pot holder that matches the design. I'm going to put the blue part underneath it. I kept it just as it was folded, but I placed it right in the center of the towel. Then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine. I'm just going to sew it right down the middle. That's it. Once it's sewn, it's basically just folding up the pot holder. Now, I wanted to sew it, but it was way too thick. I could not get this in there. So then I said, okay, I'm just going to use some fabric tape and I'm just going to use some heat to sew it. Well, these are pot holders. Heat does not go through it very well. That means it does its job, right? But I missed that part. So it didn't work. I removed it. And I'm just going to go to my hot glue, my faithful hot glue. I'm just going to add a lot of it. And then I'm just going to sand it right on there. You can also sew it by hand with some thread. I didn't have any blue thread. So we're just going to hot glue it. And I think it's gorgeous. You can hang this in your kitchen. You can use it as a towel or just to add some cute wall decor. Okay, so here's the easiest Dollar Tree craft. I'm going to take this beautifully designed kitchen towel. I'm going to open it up, and then I am going to place a thrifted vase right in the center. Dollar Tree has similar vases to these, so you can use whatever vase you have on hand. I'm going to tuck in the shorter sides first. Then I'm going to bring in the taller sides and kind of overlap over the shorter ones so they hold them in place. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, holding it tightly in the center. And then I'm going to bring in a cute little pink ribbon that's going to be perfect to tie it in the center. I'm going to wrap it around twice. And then I'm going to just really tighten it and just make a very simple knot right in the front. Okay, so I contemplated cutting off the excess towel. I think it would look very cute, but I wanted to try something different and I left them just as is, but I did fold them and kind of moved them to where I wanted them. I love the way they look. I want to add these faux tulips, which by the way, I have on my Amazon store and it is linked down below. But look how stunning this looks. So easy. You can use any towel you want. You can then remove the ribbon and use the towel in your kitchen. That's how easy it was. All right. Don't go anywhere if you want to watch how I transformed my mantle from winter to spring. Here's the clip showing you how I did it. All right, so this is how my winter mantle looked. It was very wintry, a lot of snow, and I just wanted to remove everything, get everything ready for spring. As I removed this, you're going to see here in slow motion, my little faux window fell. I was devastated. I thought it had broken, but it didn't. I was so happy it didn't. Okay, that was a little drama there. Now I cleaned everything, and now I'm going to bring in this thrifted window. It's a real window that I thrifted a while back. I added some wire to the back and I hung it to the wall. I'm going to place this beautiful wreath. It is from HomeSense and 2 full grassy plants on each side. Then I'm going to add this love sign that I made recently using some moss balls from Dollar Tree and a thrifted frame, a lantern that I thrifted a while ago, and some candle holders that I thrifted as well. This cutting board I also thrifted. I'm going to add to the right side to complement the brown from the opposite side. This transformation was so fun. I love the freshness. I love how springy it looks. And it's so fresh. I just love it. Let me know what you think of it. We recently renovated our guest bathroom and we had a huge box where the tub and the surround was at. This box is so thick. I knew I had to make some crafts with it. For the first one, we are going to take a piece. I'm just going to start cutting and cutting until I have a piece of the size that I want. We're creating a beautiful farmhouse style tag. I'm going to sand it down smooth on the edges using a sanding block, and then I'm going to give it a couple of coats of Waverly chalk paint in the white, and of course we want to let that fully dry. Because we are working with cardboard, you're always going to have those edges that look like cardboard. So I'm going to take some nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to start wrapping it around by hot gluing it in place. A little bit of hot glue goes a long way because it is cardboard and the rope really attaches really well. And then we are going to cut off the excess and then just make sure that it aligns nice and snug to the other end. Now we're going to bring in a Dollar Tree sticker. You've seen me work with these before. This is a farmhouse style. They look like little mini signs and I love them. Just going to grab this one and just place it right on the bottom of the tag. Now we're going to bring in a small little tiny grapevine wreath that I get on Amazon. Some faux boxwood, and I'm just going to take off some of the little branches and hot gluing them all around the wreath. That way it's going to be fuller and just add some nice greenery color. We're going to hot glue the little wreath right on top of the tag, and it's looking so pretty. I'm going to take another piece of that nautical rope, hot glue it to the back of the tag so that we can hang it. And I'm also going to put some masking tape. This part is not necessary, it really is going to stick, but just in case I decided to put a piece. And I think it's stunning. What a beautiful little tag. You can make this any size you want actually, but I think it's so, so beautiful. For the next cardboard hack, I'm going to take another larger piece and I'm just going to start cutting pieces from it until I have the size that I want. What I want to make is I want to make the letter B so that my daughter can hang on her door for her bedroom. That is her initial, and I think she's going to love it. So after I had the size that I wanted, I made a rectangle in the middle, making sure that I left enough on the sides so that I can then draw the B. And as you can see, I just rounded off the edges and then using my blade knife, which by the way, I do have on my Amazon store, and it is actually amazing. It cuts through the cardboard, even thick cardboard, very easily. Highly recommended. So now I'm just going to start cutting here and there to make sure that I get the size and the shape of the bee that I'm looking for. Alright, so now I'm just going to again sand smooth those edges using my sanding block, and we're going to give everything 2 coats of Waverly chalk pen in the white. I want to give it a plank look, so I'm going to take my square and I'm just going to take a permanent marker, the thin kind, and I'm just going to start drawing lines all across, all the way down the bee, and I'm using the same width as the ruler. That way it's consistent and it just looks nice and even. And then we are going to start wrapping around the bee as well, because again, you can see the cardboard edge. I'm just going to hot glue some of this white nautical rope from Dollar Tree, and we're going to do it all around. When I reach at the end, I realized that I wanted to do the inside of the bee as well, just to kind of make everything look nice and cohesive. After I was done with that, I realized that you can see a lot of gaps in between the rope and the cardboard. So I decided to double up on the rope. So once I was done doing the middle section, I just added another layer right next to the other rope. That way it's going to cover up that gap very nicely. It's so easy to make. I sped it up because I knew it would just be way too long, but look how stunning that looks. Now I wanted to add some greenery and some florals to make it look very feminine. So I'm going to add these magnolia leaves that I already had on hand from other picks that I had left over. And a couple of these pink peonies. They have 2 different shades. I love getting these. I get them on Amazon, and I do have them in my Amazon store if you want to check them out. And then I'm going to add some of the leaves from the peonies here and there with some hot glue. That way it's going to add that nice contrast with the 2 different types of green tones. And look how beautiful this turned out. My daughter absolutely loved it. We're going to hang it on her door, and it's going to be a nice welcoming sign for everyone to see. I'm going to do a really cute spring decor. I'm going to sand down all the edges, the front, the back, and that way they're going to be nice and smooth because they are kind of splintery once you get them. I'm going to paint one of them with this beautiful mint green by Bear, and then the other 2 are going to be white, and I'm going to use Rust-Oleum chalk pen and the linen white. I'm going to place it right in the center of the board, and I'm just going to place 1 tape on top just to kind of keep it in place. I'm going to take some Waverly chalk pen in the white and one of Essential Stencil's stenciling brushes, and I'm just going to start applying the paint. And basically, you just want to add very little paint in your brush and just go in a circular motion until you have it completely stenciled. Looks so cute. Now I'm going to take one of their rub-on transfers. They are perfect for spring and summer. And all you have to do is cut up the section that you want, remove the back, place it on the surface, and then just scrape. These little scrapers came from them as well. Makes it so easy. You just want to rub and pull as you go. If you have anything running through the edges, you just want to sand it down very lightly. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other board. Now that I have all 3 boards nicely set, I'm going to flip them over because we are going to attach them vertically. And I'm going to use a ribbon that I got. I think it was at Michael's a while back. It kind of looks like a shoelace. I was kind of giggling when I saw it. But it is a ribbon, so I'm just going to hot glue it going up one side and down the other. And then after hot glue, I do want to staple for a very secure hold. And that's about it for this one. So easy, so beautiful. You can certainly sell this one if you'd like. All the ones that I'm making today are going to be ones that you can actually sell and make a good profit off of them. Made out of wood, solid, durable, and I love the way this one turned out. For this next project, we are headed to Lowe's. Now, you can go to any hardware store as long as they have wood. If you go to the wood section, you can find these wood rounds. They're actually tabletops, but if you want to make a durable, large, heavy-duty, well-made with quality finish, these are perfect for it. I'm going to grab a couple of them, but I'm going to work with this one right now, and I'm going to remove, of course, the plastic. They are pretty soft and well-made, but I do like to sand them down to make sure they're nice and smooth. Flip it over, do the same thing in the back. Now on the edges, I'm going to take a flexible sanding block and I'm just going to sand it down just to remove any rough edges. Wipe it down really well, and then I'm going to give it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk pen in the linen white, both the front and the back. Now again, all the projects that I'm making today are ones that you can actually make for yourself, but you can also sell. How beautiful this one is. It's a multiple step. It's almost like painting by colors. I had such a great time with this project. So the first one I'm going to use is the one that says hop on in. I'm going to place it on some burlap ribbon that I taped onto some paper. I'm going to stencil it once again using Waverly chalk pen in the white. Just going to use a circular motion with very little paint in the brush until it's completely covered. Once I have it finished, you can see that it's right on there. Now, you don't have to use the ribbon. You can put it right on the surface. I just thought adding the texture would be so much fun. I'm going to temporarily tape the ribbon just to kind of give me an idea where I want it. Then it's going to be step 2. We're going to put this first part of the bunny stencil, and I'm going to stencil it using Waverly chalk pen and the moss. I let that dry, and now we're going to bring part 2 of the bunny stencil. Remember, this is all part of the same set. How cute. You can break this down using in different projects, whatever you want. The possibilities are endless. I'm going to use the Waverly elephant color. It's like a creamy color, and then for the little flower, I'm going to use pink by Rust-Oleum. And look how cute they look just hanging out. Adorable. All right, moving along. This one is then the rub-on transfer. Now, it does come with some eggs and carrots that you can stencil, but I thought the colors of these rub-on transfers are so beautiful. They complement the bunnies so well. I thought I'm going to use it here. So I'm just going to use one piece and then added more on the other side. I'm going to hot glue the ribbon to the back to make sure it's nice and snug, and then I am going to staple it to make sure that it's not going to go anywhere. And then, of course, I want to cut off any of the excess ribbon so that it has a nice professional finish to it. Before we add anything else, we want to seal everything, because if they place this outdoors, you want it to be protected from the elements. So I am going to use a Rust-Oleum top coat. This is in the semi-gloss, and just spray the whole thing, front and back. I'm going to flip it over before we add anything to the front, like floral wise. I'm going to add the hooks. So I'm going to use these that I get on Amazon, and I added the 2 hooks on each side. Then I'm going to take some of the wire that came with it, thread a little washer through it, thread it through the hook, and then thread it through the washer again. I'm going to tighten that little washer, cut off any excess wire, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, creating a nice hanging piece. Now, you don't have to add the wire. You can just leave the hooks, but if it's going to be hung on a door, you want it to have a kind of like a string or wire. All right, we're going to just add a mixture of different leafy greens here to the top of the wood round, and I'm going to staple them because it is very secure, and because the board is very thick, you can staple away and not worry about it coming out the other side. I added some purple ones, and this beautiful pink one will finish everything off. So beautiful. I love it. It's one of my favorites today. I love adding that ribbon, but that rub-on transfer really finished it off very beautifully. All right, back to Dollar Tree. I'm going to grab 3 of these shelves. These are some hanging shelves you can get in the frame section. I'm going to take 3 of them, and I am going to then paint 3 of these paint sticks, not paint, stain, using Rust-Oleum glaze in the brown tone. I'm going to let them dry. I remove all the plastic and everything from these shelves. This is what they look like. I took everything from it, including the hanging ropes, and I put them together, join them together using the paint sticks. I hot glue 3 of them in the back and staple them for a secure hold, and made sure that I left about a 1/2 inch in between each board. The stencil that we are using from Essential Stencil is this beautiful bird's nest stencil. It's a 2-step one. The birdhouse, I stenciled it right in the front of the board with Waverly chalk pen in the moss. And now I'm going to add the heart and the little window portion. I'm just going to place it right on top after it dried. And I'm going to stencil it using Waverly chalk pen in the white. Again, very little paint on the brush, and then just go around and around until you have a nice good coverage. Remove it and it looks stunning. I'm going to take one of the ropes that came with one of the shelves. I'm going to remove the little ring from it, and I'm just going to put tape on each end because this is going to make it so much easier to thread through the little holes. I want to have a double hanging rope. I think it looked very pretty. So I'm just going to thread the first one through the first holes, making sure that I pull up, leaving enough hanging string. Then I'm going to knot it in the front and cut off the excess. And I'll do the same thing with the other one as I thread it through the second hole. And that's it for this one. What a simple, beautiful one. It's very durable. You can sell this one definitely for a profit. I cannot wait to do this one again. Back to Lowe's again. All right, so if you've never crafted with real wood from the hardware store, highly recommend it. Especially if you want to sell them at shows or if you want to sell them online, this is the way to go. I grabbed a 10 by 6 foot. I am going to cut off 1 foot from one side, and then I'm going to bring it inside. I'm using my miter saw, but you can also go to the hardware store and have them cut it for you if you know exactly the size that you need. This big machine you see here on the left is the wood cutting area, and there is usually a sign right up there. And you can find them. They charge a very small fee, sometimes even free if it's just one cut. They'll cut it for you. So keep that in mind if you do not have a miter saw. All right, so once I had it cut, I took it inside. I'm going to sand it down again to make sure it's nice and smooth. I did all the edges and both sides. And then I'm going to wipe it well and stain again using Rust-Oleum chalked glaze in the brown tone. It is water-based. It's not stinky. It does not harm your hands. It's wonderful to use. You just apply it, remove the excess, and then let it dry. And that's what I did with this whole entire board. Once it was dry, it's time to start adding this beautiful Hello Spring stencil. Is perfect for the vertical sign for the porches, and it fits perfectly on these 10-inch board. I'm going to place all 4 stencils vertically, and then I'm going to attach them together with some masking tape to make sure they're not going to come apart. And to stencil it, I'm going to use multiple colors. For the actual letters, I'm going to use white, and this is Rust-Oleum chalk pen in the linen white. And then for the hello, I'm going to use a teal color. It's like a Highland blue from Rust-Oleum. And then I'm going to use a combination of white and green and pink for the butterflies and the flowers, alternating where I place the colors. All right, so I'm done stenciling, and look how pretty this looks. I can't stand it. It was so easy to make such a large board. Definitely can sell for a big profit if I wanted to sell it. All right, I'm going to seal everything using that same top coat spray by Rust-Oleum, and I'm just going to do a couple coats up and down. Now my porch is not ready to be photographed yet, so I just placed it in front of my pantry door, but look how beautiful this looks. So easy, so much fun with this Dollar Tree board. Basically, I'm just going to remove the jute string, and then I'm just going to take the white vinyl and cut off a piece. It's about maybe 6 inches wide. I printed this 3 bunny picture on my laser printer, so nothing major, just basically found an image online and printed it in black and white. Now I'm just going to place it on the back side of the vinyl. I'm going to tape it in place just so that I can keep it uncurled because it was curling way too much. This is an alternative. That's something that you can do if you do not have a cutting machine. I placed some carbon paper in between the copy paper and the vinyl, and I'm just going to trace it with the little tracing tool. It came with it. I'll tell you a little bit more about this carbon paper and the tracing tool. So I'm just going to trace all the bunnies with the tool, and then now you have a perfectly copy. I didn't worry about the tail because we're going to do something with that in a little bit. Now I'm just going to cut each bunny. This took me a little bit, so I am going to speed it up for you, but I'm just going to cut it. No, not difficult at all. And then once I had them, now I have 3 cute bunny stickers. So I'm going to remove the backing, and I'm going to start placing the one in the center. Then I'm going to place the one on the bottom and then the one on the top. That way they're as evenly placed as possible. Again, this is just a great alternative to not having a cutting machine if you still want to have some custom crafting. All right, so now that we have the bunnies in place, we need a tail. So I have these little pom-poms that I had from another project, and I'm just going to hot glue one to each backside of the bunny. I think they're adorable. It just makes this bunny more 3D, and I love the neutral colors that it has. All right, so now we're just going to make a little swag for the top of the sign. I'm going to tie them together. This is just some faux boxwood that I get on Amazon. Wrapped it around and secured it in place with some jute string and added some hot glue to the top, and I'm just going to place it right there. To hang it, I'm just going to place some more jute string. I'm just going to hot glue it on each side, and then I am going to just put a little bit of masking tape. This is just going to allow it to really be secure. And that's it for this one. I put it first because it is such an easy craft. You don't even have to do them white. You can do them in any color you want. I think it's so cute. Love this for Easter. For this next Dollar Tree craft, we're going to add some color to these. All right, so we're going to take the pink vinyl. Look how pretty that is. This love sign is from the Valentine's collection at Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the love from it. I don't mind if some of the paper comes off because we are going to remove it as much as we can by sanding it down and scuffing it up just a little bit. It will allow for the paint and the vinyl to stick very nicely. So I just use my electric sander, but you can use a sanding block if you'd like. I'm going to wipe it down very well, and I'm just going to give it a rough 1 coat of Waverly chalk pen in the white. This is to lighten up the background because this vinyl is a little sheer. You can see through it a little bit, so adding the white really allowed it to just look very dense. All right, I'm going to cut up a piece that is going to cover exactly the size of the tag, and we're just going to place it starting from the bottom to the top. A really cool way I found it to remove the excess vinyl from the edges is to sand down the edges. So if you do a downward motion with a sanding block, it really makes that edge to be very smooth, seamless, and it does smooth those edges out. Look how pretty that looks. All right, this welcome little bike decor is darling. I love the colors. We're going to remove the welcome portion of it. We're keeping the bike. All right, so now I'm going to place it towards the bottom of the sign, and I'm going to mark with a pencil where I need to drill a few holes so that we can tie it with some wire. Because it is the way it's shaped and the material, hot gluing it would not have worked. So I'm just going to drill those holes, use some flexible wire, and then I'm going to bend the wire in half, and I'm just going to place it right through the holes, making sure that I'm tightening in the back nicely. I'm going to cover the wire with some duct tape. That way it's not going to scratch any surface. We're going to add some florals. We're going to add these beautiful pink ones from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add some green ones too. Here's a little trick. If the flowers are a little too loose at the end, add a little bit of hot glue and place the flower. It'll hold tightly and it won't come off again. All right, so now I'm going to make another little swag here, and I'm going to do the same thing. Take some jute string and just roll it around in the center. I didn't hot glue it to the florals because that way if I want to reuse them again, I can. Once I had it secured in place, I'm going to hot glue it again to the top, but I am going to leave a little room on the top of the tag, so I'm just leaving about 2.5 inches. I'm going to whiten that hole that was already in there with my drill, and I'm just going to thread some of this beautiful teal burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to tie it in the knot. Once I have the knot, I am going to just slide that knot to the back. That way you don't see it, and look how pretty this looks. It's very feminine. I love the bright colors. The flowers and the bike really complement each other. For this next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take these 4 wooden egg ornaments from Dollar Tree in 4 different color and designs of vinyl. Look at that floral one. Isn't that stunning? I love it. All right, I'm going to cut off 4 pieces of each vinyl so that we have enough to cover each egg. And then, of course, we want to remove the back and then place it on each egg. So we are done covering the eggs, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my sanding block and just sand down those edges. This was so quick and so effective. I love this technique. All right, so now I'm going to take my crocodile and I'm just going to whiten that hole that's on top just a little bit. And of course, we want to go through the vinyl as well. This crocodile is one of my favorites, and I do have it on my Amazon store if you want to check it out as well. All right, so now that we have the holes made, I am going to put some masking tape at the end of this jute rope so that it can thread nicely through each hole. And I'm going to do that to all of them. And then I'm going to tie them in a knot in the top. Now I'm going to add some florals to each egg. So I'm just going to take some colors that really complement and contrast each egg. The pink ones look great against that yellow, these blue ones with the pink. Then I'm going to add to the green one a beautiful green tone that we used earlier. And then for the floral one, because it's a little busy, I'm just going to add a pink one, and it's kind of muted and it just adds a nice texture. These little egg ornaments are so stinking cute. You can use them in a plant for Easter, or you can just lay them around in a console table. I think they're beautiful. For the next Dollar Tree craft, it's a really easy one. I'm going to take this little Home Sweet Home tin bucket from Dollar General. I'm going to cover it with some chalk paint. This is Waverly in the white. I'm going to give it a couple of coats. You can leave it as is and remove the graphic from the front, but I wanted it to be white. While it's drying, I took a flower. This is a daisy that I printed in my laser printer, and here is the little packet of carbon paper. They come a ton. I have it in my Amazon store, and it has this the little tools. It come in different sizes, so really good deal. All right, I took a piece of the pink vinyl, and I'm going to place the carbon paper on top, the flower right on top of that, and then we're just going to trace it using the tool once again. Really easy. I'm not worried about tracing the circle quite yet because we're going to do that in a different color. And there's the beautiful daisy. So easy. We're just going to cut it. I'm going to speed it up for you because, of course, this takes a little while. But it's so worth it if you do not have a cutting machine. What a great alternative. Now I have a nice, beautiful sticker flower, and I'm going to do the same thing with the center. Wanna be the first who knows all of your deepest secrets. Can I be the one who wakes you up before you miss your ride? Cause I wanna be close. All right, now we have everything cut and ready to be applied. The tin bucket is nice and dry, and we are going to place the stickers right in the front. Now be careful when you pull out the daisy. Just go little by little because I didn't want to pull out any petals. Once I had it removed, I'm just going to carefully take my time, and I'm going to do it in real time here so you can see how slowly and how carefully I placed it. That way everything was going to be smooth, no bubbles, and nicely even in the center of the bucket. Very pretty. All right, so then we're going to place the yellow dot right in the center just to finish that little flower up. Look how cute. All right, this little tree I got at Target Dollar Spot. It was $3. I'm just going to place it inside. Add some moss to cover up the inside. These little carrots are from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut off the little green portion. I'm going to whiten the whole, add some hot glue, and then add some faux boxwood. This is just going to give it a little bit more oomph to those carrots. Once I have it in place, I'm just going to add them to the front of the bucket just to add some cute little decor. But you can use this in spring. You can use it in Easter. I think it's such an easy craft you can make even with your grandkids or kiddos. For this next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take this little container. Recently, I did one using my Cricut Joy, and I know a lot of you do not have a cutting machine, so I want to show you an alternative on how you can do something similar using Dollar Tree vinyl and no cutting machine. All right, so I printed out a sun, and I cut off a piece of the yellow vinyl. Once again, I'm just going to trace it around. So I traced the sun, and I cut off the center of the sun, and I'm just going to place it right there in the center of the jar. Then I'm going to cut each little ray of sunshine, and this took a little bit, I'm not going to lie, but it's so worth it. I'm just going to cut one by one, remove the bag, and then place them. And the way I'm going to place them is I'm going to place one, then another one directly up on the opposite side, then another one in the center of those, then the opposite, and I'm going to keep doing that until I have a nice sun. And we're just about done with this one. Now you can do multiples of these and create like a nice set, but this little sunshine jar is so cute. Such an easy craft. You can then remove the vinyl if you want and create any other design for any other season. What a cute way to upgrade your decor. Let me start with this white tone one. I love already the tone of it, but I do want to brighten it up just a little bit. So I'm going to dry brush some white chalk paint. This is by Waverly. And again, it's just a little dry brush, a little bit of paint on the brush, wipe it here and there, and then that way it's just going to brighten it up, but you're still going to see those beautiful lines underneath. By the way, these brushes are my favorite. I get them on Amazon, which they are in my Amazon store, which is linked below. So good for crafting. So look how cute this house is already looking. Now this piece is a piece from last year, and I had it left over, but it had this little watering can that I thought was so cute. I'm going to hot glue it, tilted right to the upper left-hand corner of the house. Then I'm going to start placing some florals. These are just florals that I already had on hand. I keep a basket of different pieces of florals that are left over from other picks and other projects. That way I can take from there as needed. And these were all except for the faux boxwood. This just I'm placing right now. But everything else was just left over. I'm just going to start hot gluing it towards the bottom of the house. Now I am going to place some moss. This is just to cover up all those stems and all the hot glue. And I'm just going to place a little bit of glue and place the moss. And then I'm going to trim and cut as needed so it looks clean and professional. I am now going to take some rope from Dollar Tree and I'm going to knot them very tightly. I'm going to cut off the excess from the top as well as the bottom, and then I'm going to hot glue it in front of each hole. This is going to make it seem like the rope, it's threaded through the hole, but it really is just a knot that is glued. And then we're just going to hot glue some rope to the back of the house. Then I am going to take a blue Sharpie, just any permanent marker will do, and I'm going to make some faux water drops. This is just going to make it look like it is watering the plants, and I think it's so adorable. It's totally my favorite from today. Let me know what you think. I'm going to take another one of those Dollar Tree houses. This one's in a darker tone. And I'm going to take 4 different craft papers from craft books that I have. Then I'm going to stack them on top of each other. And I'm just going to cut off about a 3-inch piece. Then I'm just going to start Mod Podging each piece one on top of each other. That way the house is going to have a nice background with all these beautiful designs that complement each other. I'm just going to add a thin coat of Mod Podge and then start placing them one on top of each other. Once I had all 4 pieces of paper stacked on top of each other, I'm going to flip it over, and then we are just going to cut off the excess paper from all around the home. I'm going to use my rotary cutter as well as my X-Acto knife for a very close cut. Once I had the house completely trimmed, now it's time to seal everything with more Mod Podge. A thin layer would do just fine, and I'm going to do that all around and then let it fully dry. I am then going to take a small little wreath form from the Target dollar spot. I get these there all the time. They have 3 in a pack for $3. I'm just going to hot glue this one to the bottom right corner of the house. And then I'm going to take some little carrots that you can find at the Dollar Tree during the spring and Easter season. I'm going to take 2 of them. I'm going to trim off the little top portion of the carrot and then add these little faux green leaves to them. That way it's going to have a more realistic, I guess a little bit more 3D. I just didn't like the way that faux green look on the carrots. So I'm just going to place some hot glue and place the little greenery right inside. And then we're just going to hot glue each little carrot in the center of the wreath form. I wanted to add a little bit of dimension to the edges, so I'm just going to distress it very little using the antiquing wax and a makeup sponge. I'm going to remove the excess on a piece of towel, and then I'm just going to start lining and distressing the edges. I'm going very carefully, adding as needed. This is just for a little detail of dimension and contrast on the edges of the home, and I really think it helped to create that distressed farmhouse look, but you don't have to do this step. You can certainly skip it and leave it as is. Once I had it trimmed, I'm just going to add some of this ribbon that I had already on hand. I'm just going to hot glue it to the back. That way we can hang it. And that's it for this one. Oh, another one of my favorites. I love these little carrots on the side. But my favorite part is all those tones and designs on the house. For this next Dollar Tree DIY, I'm going to take these 2 eggs that you can currently find at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the little ribbon from it, and then we're going to wrap them up using some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree. The way I'm going to start it is I'm just going to start rolling it on my cutting mat. I'm just going to start adding hot glue here and there until I have a little roll of about twice rolled. And then once I had it nice and tightened, I'm going to hot glue that to the top of the egg. Now, this is before I realized that the whole thing was going to come apart, and you're going to see that here in a minute. So I'm just going to start adding hot glue row by row, spinning it around and making sure that the rope is nicely tight to the one above. Here's where things go a little bit south, but nothing that we can't fix. The whole thing started coming off because I realized that the jute string was not attached to the egg at all. So that's me realizing, what in the world? All right, so then I removed the whole thing. I'm going to take off all of that jute string. Then I'm going to hot glue the piece that I already hot glued to the top. And then we're going to continue with the technique of just wrapping around the rope all around the egg. When I reached the end of the egg, here's how I did it. I just added a whole bunch of glue, cut off some of the rope, so that way I have a smaller piece to work with, rolled it around, really got it in there. Then I cut off the excess rope that I had, which was not much. And then I just pressed that last piece right inside. It was so seamless, and it was actually really easy. Once I have that, it is done. Then I'm going to move on to the next one. And yes, I did remove the jute string before. And I did the same exact thing to this one. I started rolling it up, hot gluing it, and then placed it on top and covered the entire egg with the same process as the first one. Now I have 2 Easter eggs nicely covered with jute rope. I love it. All right, so now it's time to add some ribbon. So this one I had on hand. I didn't have much left over, but whatever I had worked really well. I'm just going to make a hole on the end of the larger part of the egg, put some glue right inside the hole. Then I'm going to place the ribbon on top and then just kind of push the ribbon with my scissors, just like you see there, and let it dry. Let it do its thing. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other one. Then I'm going to start to just kind of add some greenery here and there. These leafy greens, again, I already had on hand. I'm just going to add 1 to each. I'm going to add some faux boxwood, some white flowers, as well as some pink ones from some bright color. So I stacked the eggs a little bit higher than the other. That way they just have a nice contrast to each other. Knotted the ribbon on top. I'm just going to add some greenery to hide that knot and cut off the excess. And that's it. These are adorable. I think having either 3 of them would look even better. I just had 2, but I think it looks great. This Dollar Tree wreath form is so cute. It has a bunny shape and is perfect for spring and Easter. I'm going to take one of these dusting mobs from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut it into 4 equal stripes, long ways. Then I'm going to place it what will be the front of the bunny. And I'm just going to start hot gluing, covering the ears. So as you can see, I'm just going to put it underneath, place hot glue, and then just kind of cover it and go side by side until they're fully covered. I wish I would have had more dusting mops to cover the entire wreath, but I did have some of these automotive towels, and they have a very fluffy feel to it. So I'm just going to cut them in strips of about 4 inches, give or take, and then I'm going to start wrapping it all around the base of the wreath. I sped it up for you because I know you know how to wrap around a wreath form. All right, so now onto these carrots. I'm going to do the same thing. This time I'm going to remove the actual greenery part of it. And I'm going to add some of these leafy greens. And these are just more grassy like. Same thing, I'm going to add hot glue and stick them right inside. These look amazing with these faux leaves. And I do have these in my Amazon store, so check them out. They are linked down below. All right, so now I'm going to take some of this yarn. One has a more brownish tone. The other one has a mustard tone. I'm going to wrap two of them using these. Just hot glue it in place. I am now going to take some burlap ribbon and I'm just going to loop it around like an awareness ribbon, scrunch it in the middle. We're going to make a very simple bow, tie it in the center with some jute string, and then we're going to dovetail cut the ends, and then we're just going to hot glue it towards the top of the bunny. I'm going to do the same thing with this striped ribbon from earlier, and I'm just going to place it right in the center of that other bow with some hot glue. And then we're just going to hot glue the carrots to the right side of the bunny. I thought the bow needed a little something something, so I'm just going to add more of those little grassy faux leaves right underneath it, and that's it. We kept it on the simple side, but I think adding those carrots to the right side of it just adds those colors, and I just think it's I'm going to start by removing the excess paper and using some Goo Gone to remove the gooey, gluey parts. This took a little bit, I'm not going to lie, but in the end, it was so worth it because every craft turned out beautifully. I'm going to start with a larger one and a smaller one. I'm going to give each 2 coats of Waverly chalk pen in the white. I am using the side-to-side motion to keep that same rounded look that each can has. Once it was painted, it was gorgeous. They already look so cute. I'm going to drill a hole on the bottom of the smaller one using a drill and a drill bit that matches the size of a dowel that I'm going to use here in a minute. The Dollar Tree stickers that we're going to be using, these first ones are gorgeous. They have a rhinestone design, and I love that they stuck so good to the surface of each can. All I did was place them on the top rim of the smaller ones, stuck them there, and then cut off the excess, and they stuck perfectly. I'm going to do the same thing to the larger one, except I'm going to do it on the top and the bottom. Beautiful these cans are already looking. Gorgeous. All right, so moving along, I am going to take one of these foam balls from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut off about 1/3 of it, and I'm going to hot glue the larger one in the larger can and hot glue the smaller one in the smaller one. This is so that when we place the dowel as well as florals, they have something to stick on. Now we're going to move along to the dowel. Again, these dowels I already had at hand. I got it at Walmart, but I think you can find them at Dollar Tree. These miter shears I get on Amazon. I'm just going to kind of eye out and measure where I need to cut, and then just cut the dowel as needed. I'm going to place the dowel right through the hole as well as the foam that we hot glued inside. And then we're going to just place it inside the larger one, making sure that the smaller can kind of lands on a tilt motion. I want this to look like it's a little tilted, like it's falling off of the larger one. I'm going to add hot glue to the foam and the dowel just so that it sticks in place nicely. I'm going to add some of these black stones, the little tiny stones that I get at Dollar Tree actually. I'm just going to place them in each can. That way it's going to add some weight and it's not going to tilt over on me. And it's also just going to hold everything in place. And then I'm going to add some moss. This moss is from Dollar Tree. You can find them there year round. I'm just going to fill in the cans so that it hides all that foam and stone. Now I'm going to start adding some floral. These are some faux boxwood that I get on Amazon. I'm going to add it to both the top and the bottom can, as well as some of these beautiful purple ones from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to add here and there until I kind of see what I like. I want it to be full, but not overly full. And I think this one turned out absolutely stunning. I love, love, love the way this turned out. The brightness, the freshness, so beautiful. And we used cans. For the next can craft, I am going to take one of the larger ones and we are removing the bottom portion. So I'm just going to use my can opener and removing the bottom because we are going to create a pocket. Once I remove the bottom portion, I'm going to take my hammer and a piece of scrap wood and I'm just going to start hammering the bottom, making it flat. I'm going to hammer and flipping it over as needed until the entire bottom is completely flat. Now I did do a little bit here and there towards the top portion just to kind of make it a little bit more like a pocket. And then on the very, very top, I'm just going to hammer it very slightly to make it oval instead of round. And this is kind of what it should look like. I'm going to take the Waverly chalk paint and the ink, and I'm going to give everything one coat and let it fully dry. Now that it's dry, I'm going to take it outside and spray paint it just one pretty heavy coat of this clear top coat from Rust-Oleum. This is going to seal everything in because I am going to paint it and distress it, and I want that black to be sealed. So here it is, nice and dry. Now I'm going to give it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the white. And this is what it should look like when everything's dry. I'm going to take this piece of rag and I'm going to start wet distressing it. Now, it didn't work out as good as I thought, so I quickly just moved on to my sanding block. This is a flexible sanding block, and I'm just going to start sanding the ridges, the edges. I don't want a heavy distress, but I do want that black to show nicely, and it was also showing a little bit of the silver, which was very pretty. And now we're bringing in these rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree. You can find these in the crafting section all the time. This one says, welcome home. And I'm just going to remove that part and then just place it right in the center of the tin can, which is now a pocket. I'm going to take my scraper and I'm just going to start rubbing it on until you kind of see where it's being lifted. Once everything was attached, I removed the plastic and it looks beautiful. I'm going to distress it very, very lightly just to kind of make it look all like matching. Then I'm going to take some of this black jute string that I get on Amazon, and I am going to hot glue a little piece to the back and then just wrap it around until I have about maybe 3/4 of an inch, and then hot glue it in place. All right, so using my crocodile, I'm just going to make 2 holes on each side of the pocket, and then I'm going to take these Dollar Tree chains. These are the basket hanging chains. I'm going to take one of the clips from another chain, and we're just going to clip them to each hole, and that way it's going to have a nice chain to hang from. Beautiful. I'm going to add some of these pink peonies that I get on Amazon. I have been using them a lot because I'm a bit obsessed with them. I love peonies, especially this pink tone. But tell me this is not the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. I love it. We used a can and it cannot look any more beautiful. For the next can craft, I'm going to take another one of the larger ones and give it again 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint and the white. Beautiful and white and fresh. Now I'm going to take this sticking stripe from burlapfabric.com, which, by the way, I have their website linked down below. You can find all things burlap and more. All right, I'm going to hot glue a piece to go around it, but I'm going to make sure that the little frayed ends overlap the edge. So I want to see the frayed edge instead of the can edge. Then I'm just going to hot glue it in place. Then I'm going to take more of those stickers from Dollar Tree. These have such a beautiful spring farmhouse look. I love this little farmhouse truck, so I'm going to use it. And I'm going to place it in the front of the can. Now, here's the kicker. Because it's a 3D sticker, when I stick it on, because the can is round, the top portion pops up and it looks so 3D, so beautiful. I love the way it turned out. So now for the florals, I'm just going to add a whole bunch of different types of colors and types of flowers that I have in my little box here of scrap pieces of floral. Just stick them in there. They're going to match perfectly the design of the farmhouse truck in the front. And it is gorgeous. I tell you what, if I would have had more cans, I would have made maybe 2 or 3 more. These will look great together. Start with these 2 boards that I found at Dollar Tree. They have a beautiful design already, but I'm going to switch them up just a little bit. I'm going to give them 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the white, and I'm going to do the same thing on both of them. If white is not your thing, you can always use any other color. I think a beautiful teal color would be great. I'm going to take this marker. This one's from Artisa. You can use any marker you have on hand. And I'm just going to start distressing the edges. I'm just going to go just on the edges. I'm not going to mark every single space in the edges, just here and there. And then in some spots, I'm going to go a little thicker for a little bit more of a distressed look. Now that we have the boards nice and distressed, we're going to bring in the first fence. This one, again, they're all the same size and they have like 4 panels. I'm going to take 2 of each end, and I'm going to first mark with a ruler so that I can cut using my shears and go as straight as possible. Don't worry if it's not straight, because I'm going to show you a little trick that I found while working with these fences. They're a very soft material, so using a blade knife after you've cut them to kind of slice anything that is left sticking out works perfectly. You just have to be careful. You don't want to hurt yourself, of course, but if you slice going away from you, it worked really well for me. So I just took a very sharp blade knife and sliced here and there until I found it to be as smooth as I can get it. So then once I had him where I wanted, it's time to attach him to each board. I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and E6000 to make sure that I have a quick hold as well as a permanent one. These worked really well. They're very close to the same width of the boards, so it looked very natural. They do overlap just a tiny bit, and I did the same thing on the other one, so they both match. Now it's time to bring some florals. These ones I just had on hand. They have a blue tone, but you can use any color you want. I'm going to cut the stem as much as I can and leave about 1 inch left because I don't want them to look too much inside the fence. So I'm just going to start threading them right from the top, and I'm going to place between 4 and 5 on each one, making sure that I'm arranging as needed. You can still see a little bit of the stem, so we're going to cover that up using some ribbon. This is ticking stripe ribbon that I got from burlapfabric.com, and I do have a link down below in the description box if you want to check out their products. They have amazing products. I'm going to make a very simple bow, tie it in the center with some jute string, and hot glue it right on the top of the fence. So that we can hang these on the wall, I am going to take some jute string and just going to hot glue it as well as duct tape it to the back. This is going to give me a nice, secure, and clean look so that if I gift it to somebody, it looks nice and professional. And I love the way this turned out. I love the simplicity of them, how fresh they look, and they both will look beautiful in any spring decor. For this next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take this leftover home sign that I did a couple of years back and never sold, and it was just laying around in my home. So I'm just going to cover up that home portion using chalk paint, and then I'm going to take another one of those fences and I am going to remove 2 ends. This time I'm going to use 2, maybe 1 and like 1/3 or 2/3 of the ones on the sides, and I'm going to cut them using my wire cutters. I think that the shears worked better than the wire cutters, but it both worked. In this one, I'm using permanent glue from Dollar Tree as well as hot glue, and it worked just as well as the E6000. So I'm just going to hot glue it right on the bottom of it. We're going to do something a little bit similar to what we just did, but it's going to be a little different. It's going to give you another idea. So once I had it where I needed it, I just kept adding hot glue here and there until all the pieces were nicely attached. We're going to bring some florals once again. These I already had on hand. We're just going to use these eucalyptus pick just to kind of guide me in where I want to drill a couple of holes. Because this board is real wood, I'm just going to drill them, and then I'm just going to thread some jute string so that we can attach them and tie them on the back. Before we tighten the jute string, I am going to place all of my picks inside of it. So I'm going to take a few different flowers here. These are all from Walmart, and I love the vibrant colors. So I'm just going to start placing them one higher than the other, and that way it's going to have nice and height and texture. Once I had them where I wanted them, I'm just going to fluff them as needed and then flip it over and tie it in the back nice and tight so that it does not go anywhere. And then it's time to bring in one of these dragonflies. They're so beautiful. They have these in the spring and summertime all the time at Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut off some of the stem using my wire cutter, and then I'm going to thread it on the opposite side of the florals just for an added touch of color and beautiful touch. I'm going to thread it in there, but I'm also going to hot glue it on the back just a little bit for extra security. Instead of adding a bow on this one, I am going to add this beautiful vibrant sunflower just to hide all that knotting and all that jute string. But look how gorgeous this looks. I love the colors. I love how vibrant it is, and it will look great in any decor. For the next Dollar Tree spring craft, I'm going to take this welcome wooden sign from Dollar Tree. I love that it has these little cute details of a potted plant, a little rake, as well as the boot that serves as an L. How cute is that? I'm going to give everything one pretty heavy coat of Waverly chalk paint in the white, and that's going to be everything, including all the little details, because then we're going to come back and touch up on all those details with some other colors. That way we have a nice white background and then add some color with that. While that dries, I'm going to take this beautiful chalkboard. It's a first day of school chalkboard. I'm just going to remove that jute string and we're going to give it 2 coats of this bare chalk paint in the paint green. And while that dries, we're going to bring back that welcome sign. Now we're going to add some color. We're going to have some fun with this. I'm going to bring in that marker once again, and I'm just going to trace all the edges again just to add dimension and a little bit of distress. But I'm not going to do the thicker distress, just a little bit of outline. And that was perfect. And then we're going to bring in some different colors. This is a Venetian yellow by Rust-Oleum milk paint. I'm going to do the little potted flower with it. And then the pot is going to be in a nice beautiful green by Bear. And then the rake is going to go black on the bottom and light blue on top. And then the boot is going to go black, and I'm going to do that with the permanent marker. It is now time to attach it to the board. We're just going to hot glue it in place towards the top of the board. On the bottom, we're going to add some beautiful florals just to make that yellow pop. These I got at Walmart last summer season, and they're gorgeous. I cut them up in little tiny branches, and I'm just going to hot glue them all along the bottom, making sure that I'm not adding as much glue because I don't want to add ribbon or anything to this one. So I'm just going to keep adding them until they're all covered. Towards the end, I did take some leafy greens that I had left over, and I'm just going to hot glue them here and there to cover where you can see some stems and you see maybe a little bit of more glue. That way it's going to look natural and not have to add anything to it. I thought at first I wanted to drill a hole on the opposite end of that other hole, but then I decided to do something different. It's something that I did recently. I'm going to take some nautical rope. I'm just going to knot it in a tight knot, and then I'm going to hot glue it in the front of the sign, right where the holes were. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to cut off that excess rope real close to the knot. And then I'm just going to hot glue the remaining nautical rope to the back. This is going to make it look like it's been knotted through the hole, but it's just an illusion. I think it turned out so beautiful. I love to know what you think of this one. It's one of my favorite from today because I love that yellow. On a recent trip to Dollar Tree, I found these heart-shaped wreath forms. They're perfect for Valentine's Day, but I think they're good for any other part of spring. So I'm going to take one of them and I'm going to wrap it up with this beautiful burlap green ribbon from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use the entire roll. I was hoping it'd be enough to cover the entire thing, but it wasn't. And then I didn't have any more on hand at least, and I didn't want to go back to Dollar Tree. So we're just going to wrap it around as tight as I can, covering the entire wreath form. And then I'm going to take some neutral color burlap ribbon, and I'm just going to finish off in the area where we didn't have enough. Alright, so I'm going to attach, like I said, the neutral color burlap just all around that little area. Now, you're not going to be able to see it because we're going to cover it up with some florals, but I wish I would have had enough so it's just nice and even. But it's okay. It worked out in the end. So I'm just going to secure it in the back with some hot glue, and then we're going to add some florals. These are some florals that I got from my mother-in-law for Christmas. I love when she gives me some floral picks because she knows that I love to craft with them. I'm going to cut off some excess stems, and we're just going to start placing them here and there in between on that upper right corner of the heart. I'm going to clip a little hole on this one just so that I can get that stem right in there with some hot glue, and it's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to fluff it and bend it as needed so that it has the shape of the heart. And then I'm going to add some picks here and there, some single ones, just to kind of fill it in and on those gaps that you can see a lot of that ribbon. And then we're going to bring in some cute little pink flowers that I also got from my mother-in-law for Christmas. We're just going to start adding hot glue and placing them all in that kind of like center area, moving towards the bottom and the top wherever it needs it. And we're just about done with this one. I gotta say, I think this one is my favorite. I love them all, but I just love the color combination. That green and that vibrant coral red is stunning. We're gonna start with this one. It has more of a farmhouse look, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open it up. Look how large they are. They're really good size for crafting. Now they do come very wrinkly and rolled up, so you do have to iron it just a little bit to make sure it's just a little bit more flat. All right, this bathroom sign I did a couple of years ago for my guest bathroom. We placed it on the door. We are currently in the process of updating our bathroom, so I removed everything from it, and I'm going to reuse it for today's project. I'm going to remove the vinyl that it had on it. Now, this board was already painted white, and I did a full frame on it just using some black paint. If you do not have a board like this, you can always use one of these from Dollar Tree, painted white, and then add a black frame to it. I'm going to sand it down just a little bit so it has a little bit more of a distressed look on the edges, and also to just remove any just grime that it may have had. I'm going to take the fabric, I'm going to place it on top and leave just a little bit of that black edge showing. I'm going to mark where I need to cut and use my rotary cutter to cut it. And then I'm going to just kind of cover the little portion that's left over on the bottom with a piece of the same fabric. I'm going to use a Mod Podge to attach the fabric. You can use adhesive spray, which I've used before. This time, I'm just going to try the Mod Podge. I'm just going to add a small thin layer to it. I'm going to do the top first and then move on to the bottom. Alright, so I just attached that smaller portion, and I'm going to remove a little bit of the excess fabric for a smooth finish. I'm just going to roll it and make sure that it's as attached as possible. These little farm animals I got recently at Dollar Tree. Can you believe that? For $1.25, these are actually a really good deal. They're good size, and I think for $1.25, it's a really good deal. All right, I removed the bottom by scoring it a little bit with a blade knife, and then just kind of twisting it back and forth until it's removed. I did use my wire cutter just to cut off any excess that may have been left. And then I'm going to sand it down using a sanding block for a smooth finish. I am going to paint them white, although black, they look gorgeous. But for this specific project, I need them to be white. So I'm just going to give them a couple of coats of Waverly Chalk Paint in the white. And then, of course, let it fully dry. This is because we are going to place these right on top of the board. I'm going to sand down the edges just a little bit, as well as the surface for a smooth finish and a little bit of a farmhouse look, distressed look. And because it had that black undertone, it just distressed perfectly. I'm going to take a permanent marker and I'm just going to write the word moo on the cow, the word oink on the piggy, and the word cluck on the chicken. How stinking cute. Now you can use a vinyl cutter like a Cricut to create these, but I thought it would be so much easier and quicker to just handwrite it. I'm going to hot glue them right on the board, one on top of each other, making sure that it's from large to small. And I think it's so adorable. This would be great in a kitchen. This would be great in a dining room. I just love the way this one turned out. You gotta understand that we get one chance, one chance. For the next Dollar Tree hack, I'm going to take this clear tray. I believe I found it at Dollar Tree's party section. I'm going to give it one coat of this spray paint by Rust-Oleum in the white. Now, I made the mistake that I only painted the top portion instead of painting it all. And you're going to see in a little bit that I had to just paint a little bit more, hand paint it with some chalk paint. This is the beautiful fabric we're going to use for this project. I am going to iron it once again. It is gorgeous. It has bikes on them and some beautiful sunflowers. I'm going to use my microwave cover because it's actually a pretty good size. And I'm just going to cut off a piece of the fabric and then use that cover to just cut off the kind of like the round circle for the bottom of my, what will be a pocket for the plate. So I'm just going to use my rotary cutter and cut off the excess fabric. I realized that the piece was just a little too tall, too high. So I'm just going to cut off another piece from it until I have a piece that fits what I need. I'm going to place it on the bottom of the plate to create a pocket. I'm just going to hot glue it section by section. And then I am going to bring some wood beads. These are half wood beads that I get on Amazon. And I am just going to hot glue them onto the bottom of the plate. The way I ensure that I have all of them separated evenly in between is by placing two of them and then adding one in the center of that, then one in the center of that, and then the other one in the center of that. This is going to ensure I have the closest separation between each bead, and without having to measure, because who wants to measure all these beads? I don't. All right, once I have them hot glued, it's time to add some florals. I think it's looking so beautiful. Because the fabric is just busy and it has a lot of color, I decided to keep the florals just in the white tones. That way it's going to look fresh and just kind of simple. I love simplicity. So I just added a combination of a few florals that I have like a yellowish tone with a white tone. And I think this one is absolutely adorable. I love the way it turned out. I can't believe we used a party plate for this. Gorgeous. For the next Dollar Tree hack, I'm going to take this beautiful home fabric as well as this blue one and this green one. Again, I am going to iron them just for a flatter look, but it doesn't have to be extremely flat ironed. Really, truly, just as long as you get most of the wrinkles out. This project, we're going to be covering several books that I already have on hand. So the first thing I want to do, I want to hem one end of the fabric. It hems so easily. I'm going to use the little tiny iron that I've been using. And by the way, this is a Cricut one, but I do have one in my Amazon store, which is just adorable and not too expensive. So check it out. Again, it is linked below. All right, so I cut off the excess fabric, leaving enough on the other end to hem it as well. Once I have that hemmed, it's time to just kind of place it and then find the a portion where I need to cut off so that I can leave enough on the top and the bottom to hem those portions. And that way we can fold those ends inside each book. So there you have it. I have 4 hemmed edges, and now I'm going to just place the book and then just again fold those ends inside each cover. That way it'll be nice and temporary. Actually, we're not going to hot glue it or anything because we do want to be able to cover these books for any season. And then we can use the fabric too. For the next 2 books, they have no covers because I've used them to remove some pages here and there. So instead of the cover, I'm just going to take a few pages from each end of the book and then just fold those hems on each side, just like that. No one will ever know that it doesn't have a cover. And then I did the same thing with the blue one. And we're just about done with this project. So easy. Anyone can totally do this. There's no painting, no gluing, literally just ironing and cutting and folding. That's it. Gorgeous. For the next Dollar Tree hack, I'm going to take this beautiful sunflower fabric that, again, I found there at Dollar Tree. And once again, I'm just going to iron it just slightly to remove all the wrinkles. Then I'm going to take some cardboard. This little wooden flower I got at Dollar Tree, but I only have one of them. So I'm going to use it to trace it on 4 pieces of cardboard. So we are going to make some coasters. And what first thing I want to do is have the 4 pieces Mod Podged. I'm going to use the same Mod Podge I used earlier. I'm just going to add some right in the center, making sure that I'm covering enough to cover the entire flower. And I'm going to do that on all 4 of them. Once I have them covered with some Mod Podge, we are going to place the fabric on top of all 4 pieces all at once. You don't have to do this. You can just cut each one individually. I thought it would just be quicker if I just did this. So I just placed all 4 cardboards, placed the fabric on top, flipped it over, and I'm just going to cut it using my rotary cutter. All right, so I am going to take the wooden flower and I'm just going to trace it on the cardboard. Now that we have the fabric attached, we're just going to trace it on the back. This way we know exactly where we need to cut. Now to cut it, I started cutting it using my blade knife. This became a little hard and it was just way too long. So then I moved on to my scissors. These scissors are older ones that I've had for a while and I don't cut any thin paper with them. But for cardboard, they are perfect. So I'm just going to cut around each flower. Nothing major. That way, it's just going to cut the cardboard as well as the fabric all at once. Once I have them cut, I am going to place more Mod Podge on top of the fabric. This is to seal everything and making a little bit more water resistant. And I'm just going to do one thin coat on top of each. Once the Mod Podge dries, it dries completely clear. You'll never know that it's on there. Just like that. All right, so now we're going to hot glue some nautical rope from Dollar Tree on the edges. This is just to cover that cardboard look. and we're going to do it around and around, taking our time. It does take a little while because you have all the curves, but if you take your time, put on your favorite TV show and watch or listen to music while you do it, it does go a little quicker. But we are getting to the end here, and I'm loving the way these are turning out. They are so simple, anyone can make. What a great craft to make with a daughter or just anyone you want. It's just so much fun. I love the bright color of the sunflowers, and again, it's such an easy. I'm going to start with this planked board. This is another one of those new finds that I found at my Dollar Tree. I removed the jute string, and I'm just going to give it one coat of Waverly chalk paint in the white. I'm just going to do one because I am going to eventually distress it, so I'm not looking for full coverage. Once it was dry, it's looking nice and pretty, we are going to use this mesh reusable stencil from A Maker Studio. I've used this in the past. They are wonderful. They are sticky on one side and they work just like a sticker. You press them after you remove the backing from it, and once you had it where you want it, you're just going to want to use either paint, or in this case, I'm going to use A Maker Studio's gel art ink to stencil it. I'm going to use the squeegee, and I'm just going to start spreading it. So you just want to spread it and remove any excess as you go. I do have a link down below in the description box, so you can always find these items if you would like to try them. So once I had it nice and stenciled, we're going to remove the top, and look how gorgeous this looks. And it's so easy. All right, so we're going to put that to the side, and we are going to take this wooden love sign that I found at Dollar Tree. They are really cute. They come two in a pack, and I'm going to give it one coat of Waverly chalk paint in the agave tone. Now I'm going to bring in the board. It's nice and dry. I'm going to distress it as I mentioned earlier. Just going to use my electric sander, distress it a little bit on the middle section and a lot heavier in the edges. And then we're just going to dust it and clean it, making sure it's dust free. I'm going to bring in a couple of these hooks that I do get on Amazon, a couple to the top, 2 inches away from the edge. When I added them, I realized that it split my board because it's not real wood. It's more of an MDF board. I did have to fill it in with some wood filler just to make sure it looks nice and neat, but it is still a strong hold and the board is not too heavy, so it worked out. I'm going to attach the love right onto the bottom right corner of the board just using hot glue. Here is the first bead ring that we're going to use. Oh, this one is gorgeous. It's black. They measure 10 by 10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up one of the little loops on one end, separate them. Then I'm going to thread it through one of the hooks first. Then I'm going to bring it over to the other side and just kind of measure kind of where I want to see the little hanging handle to go to. Cut it using my wire cutters, and then just curl the one end using my pliers. That way we can hang it on the other side. So simple. I'm going to use some of this boxwood, and I'm just going to hot glue it to the left side of the board. That way it just fills it in, adds a little bit more texture. And then I'm going to add a couple of flowers, just these little white ones, to cover up the glue section. And that's it for this one. It's one of my favorites. I love the background, and I love that bead hanging string. Just gorgeous. For the next Dollar Tree hack, I'm going to take this little house board that you can find at Dollar Tree in the characters square aisle. I'm also going to use another one of those reusable stencils from A Maker Studios. This one says Faith, Family, and Freedom. I'm going to cut off the portion that I need, and then I'm just going to make sure that it's dust free, the surface, and attach it right to the center. This time I'm going to use a regular Waverly chalk pen, and I'm going to use this stenciling brush to stencil it. I'm just going to thin out the paint on the brush and then just use a circular motion to stencil it. I'm going to remove the stencil and reveal the beautiful design. It's gorgeous. So perfectly placed. All right, so we are going to wash that stencil, remove the paint, and reuse it another time. I got a little bit outside of the stencil, so I'm just going to use some Waverly chalk paint in the ink. Just dry brush it a little bit here and there to cover it up. We're going to bring the second set of beads in this ring. I'm going to just kind of fold it in an 8 form and then fold it in half. This was my first thought on what I want to do. I shaped it into a circle And then I realized it's too small. It just covers up way too much of the design. So I decided to open it up just like did the other one. And then I am going to cut off exactly what I need, leaving enough space in the center to make sure that you can see the design. So I'm just going to cut it once again using my wire cutters. I'm going to fold one end into a loop. That way I can join the two sides together as they were in the beginning. And now I have a smaller circle. And then we're just going to shape it as best as we can into a circle. And we're just going to attach it using some hot glue. Some of this green boxwood, I'm just going to hot glue it towards the top of the ring. And again, some of those little white flowers to hide the glue. This is just going to add a nice texture, very farmhouse-like. And then we need something to hang the little house from because I did remove the jute string. I decided to bring in some of this white nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to hot glue it to the front. Let me know what you think of that. Does it look messy? I kind of like it, but let me know what you think down in the comments. But I love the way this one turned out. For the next Dollar Tree hack, I'm going to take this Love Lives Here wood round sign from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove everything from it, and I'm going to sand down all the glitter that's on top. You can find these pretty much in every season. This one happens to be in their Valentine's collection. Once I had it nice and sanded, I'm going to dust it off and wipe it really well. I'm going to spray adhesive some craft paper, so I'm going to spray it on top. And this craft paper came from a bundle book that I got at, I believe it was Hobby Lobby. And I place it right in the center. And then I'm going to use my rotary cutter to cut off the excess paper. And that way I have a nice smooth edge. To make it even smoother, I am going to sand down those edges using my sanding block from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to do it in a downward motion. This is going to make sure that it's going to be even smoother. Here's the third set of beads that I'm going to use. I love this one. It has that natural wood color. I'm going to use for this one a combination of hot glue and more permanent glue so that I can have a nice strong hold. Once I had it, I'm just going to flip it over and place it right there. Super cute and so easy. All right, so then it's time to bring in some greenery. This is just a combination of a few greeneries that I already had on hand. I'm going to start hot gluing it to the top. All right, so I just continue to add some greenery, and then I'm going to add some pink flowers. I think it really complements the design overall of the sign. So I'm just going to add 3 of them right in the center of all the greenery. Now we need something to hang it from, so I'm going to use some of this burlap ribbon, and I'm just going to hot glue it to the back. It's kind of thick. I wish I had a thinner one, and I guess I could have cut it in half, but I didn't think about it till now. So I'm just going to hot glue it, and then I'm also going to add some duct tape, and this is just going to add more security, and it's also kind of just make it a little bit cleaner in the bag. And I gotta say, this was one of my favorites. I love the design, and that bead ring around the edge is just so stunning. I love the natural wood color, and the colors just complement each other. For the next Dollar Tree hack, I am going to take the leftover beads from both sets, the black and the white ones, just going to join them together in a little bucket. We are going to use them to make some keychains. I think these are so much fun to make. I'm also going to use some jute string in the black and the white and a stitching needle. I'm just going to start threading them. I'm going to make 3 of them. One's going to be black and white, and the other ones are going to be 1 black and 1 white. So I'm just going to thread 14 beads in total, and I'm going to do that again with the white one and the black ones as well. All right, so I have all the beads threaded, and now it's time to kind of build the keychain. So I want them to have a little tassel on each one. So I'm going to show you how I did one. Now these little there are binder rings that you can find at Dollar Tree. You can also use keychain rings, but I just didn't have any on hand, and these work out really well. I'm going to tie it to the end of each little bead section, and then I'm going to just pull out a whole ton of jute string because we're going to create the tassel. I'm going to use a piece of cardboard to guide me. It's about maybe 5 inches wide. I'm just going to wrap it around several times. Then I'm going to use one end of the string left over on the keychain, and I'm just going to tie it on one end. I'm going to slide it out and make sure that it is tightened securely. And then I'm going to use another piece of jute string. I'm just going to tie it towards the top of the keychain. You know what I'm talking about. I'm sure you've seen this done before. And I'm just going to secure it with a very simple knot. And then I'm just going to cut open all the little loops from the tassel. And then I'm going to cut the remainder, like the excess. I just want to cut it to a size that just matches the size of the keychain. I did that with all 3 of them. And they are so cute. These will be great to sell at craft shows or even to give to family members or friends. I love them. going to begin with this board. This is part of the summer collection boards from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut off the little sailing boat from the top, and I'm just doing the little technique that I usually use, which is scoring, snapping, and then sanding smooth for a smooth finish. Once I had it where I wanted, I'm just going to give it a couple of coats of Waverly chalk paint in the white. And then while that is drying, I'm going to take some cardboard. The cardboard that I have is from a box from a tool that we got during the Christmas season. It is very thick and is very durable. I loved it. This little wooden heart came from the Target dollar spot. I only have one, so I'm going to use it as my guide to trace it 3 times on the cardboard. And then I'm going to cut the hearts out. I'm going to use a blade knife that I recently got on Amazon. It is fantastic. The shape of it, the angle that it has for your hand, and how sharp it is phenomenal for doing crafts with cardboard. And I do have it on my Amazon store. If you want to check it out, it is linked down below. I'm going to take some of this crafting paper and I'm just going to adhere it with some adhesive spray onto each heart. Then using an X-Acto knife, I'm just going to cut off the excess paper as close as possible to the cardboard. Once I had them nice and cut, we are going to cover those edges with some nautical rope from Dollar Tree. That way you're not going to see the cardboard portion on the sides. You can also paint them if you don't have any rope, or you can use ribbon if you have ribbon instead. I am making sure that I am starting and ending the rope at the top of each heart. That way we can cover it with some string here in a little bit, because I want to add a little cute bows using some jute string. I'm going to wrap it around my fingers and I'm just going to roll it around a few times, and then I'm going to kind of join it in the center and join it with some jute string. And then we're going to hot glue it to the top of each heart after we fan out the little loops a little bit. I wanted to add a little flower to each, so I'm going to grab these little white ones that I already had on hand. I'm going to cut off the little excess stem from the bottom and hot glue them to the bottom of each bow. And then it's time to simply attach the hearts to the whiteboard that we painted earlier. Basically, I'm just going to line them up vertically, but you can also do it horizontally. I think this would look good either way. I'm going to just kind of stack them in a color scheme that kind of looks good. And then I'm just going to hot glue it together. Because they're made out of cardboard, they stick really well with hot glue, one on top of each other. And then I'm just going to add more nautical rope to the back. This is so that we can hang it. You can also hot glue a sawtooth hook if you prefer, but I think the nautical rope really just pulls everything together. And I love this one. I put it first because it is so cute. It is just springy and feminine. I just love the way it looks. For the next cardboard hack, I'm going to start with 2 wreath forms here. These are grapevine wreath forms that I get. I think it was a combination of Dollar Tree and Amazon. I already had them on hand. I'm going to join them together. One is larger than the other, and I'm using some jute string. I like to loop it on one end and then thread it through the loop and just kind of tie it around a few times and tie it to the other end. This is going to give me a nice strong hold. Then I'm going to just kind of place it on top of cardboard, and I'm going to trace out an ear. We're making a little bunny wreath form. And I'm just going to cut it out using my blade knife once again. Once I had it cut, I am going to use that first one to trace a second one and cut it to the same size, and that way they match each other. Once I had them cut, it's time to just cut off some of the bottom just so that it is flat instead of pointy. And then I'm just going to add some of this yarn. I've had this yarn for a while. It's very fluffy and bright white. I think I got it at Hobby Lobby quite a while ago, about over a year ago. And I'm just going to wrap it around a few times. Once I had it all covered, I'm going to go right back down again so that it is nice and fluffy. And then I did the same thing to the other one, wrapped it around, and then went right back down again so that it is nice and fluffy. Once I had it attached, I did hot glue the end to it so that way it won't come off. I'm going to take another piece of cardboard. This is about 4 inches wide, and I'm going to wrap it around a few times. We're going to make a little fluffy pom-pom so that it could be the bunny's tail. So once I slide it off of the cardboard, I'm just going to tie it in the center with more yarn, and then I'm going to cut open all the little loops. I'm sure you've seen a pom-pom made before. This time I'm not going to just fluff it too much. I want it to look kind of messy. I like that look. So I'm just going to start hot gluing both the ears and the little bunny tail. And we're just going to hot glue it in place because it is cardboard and yarn. It holds very nicely. And then it's time to start adding a bow to the center. This is going to be a wreath form, so I do want it to have a nice decorative section down in the center. I'm going to take this burlap ribbon. It also has lace on the edge. I'm going to loop it like an awareness ribbon. Then I'm going to scrunch it in the middle and tie it with some jute string. And then we're going to take some jute string and then we're going to just tie it around that center portion and secure it in the back. I'm going to fluff it a little bit, and then it's time to add some greenery and florals. I'm going to start with these greenery picks. My mother-in-law got me these for Christmas. She knows my heart. I'm going to cut a couple of the picks and just hot glue them underneath each side of the bow. I'm going to do the same thing with these little white greenery ones, and we're just going to keep doing this with all the flowers. I'm just going to add a combination of bright green ones as well as some orange little beads, and then a nice bright green flower in the center of the bow. Alright, so we're just about done. Again, I'm just going to hot glue that bright green flower in the center. And this bunny is so beautiful. I love it. It's actually a pretty good size. And you can even make them with bigger wreath forms. For the next cardboard hack, I'm going to take a piece of cardboard. It's going to be about 3.5 inches thick by about, I would say, about 12 inches long. And then I'm going to cover it using these bamboo flat dowels that I get on Amazon. Recently, I've been using them quite a bit because they're just so easy and versatile. I'm going to cover the entire thing by cutting with my miter shears, which I do have both of these, the dowels as well as the shears in my Amazon store. And I'm just going to hot glue them down the all surface because that way we're going to have a planked look. Then I am going to cover the edges with a smaller piece. This is because the edges is not very smooth and they're not evenly cut. So I'm just going to cover them up with smaller pieces. And then I'm going to give it one coat of Waverly chalk paint in the white, and it's going to have a fresh look. And then I am going to also paint the edges because it does have that cardboard look. I wanted to blend in a little bit more with the planked board. And I did that on all sides. Recently at Dollar Tree, I found these little wood words, and these have 2 in a pack, and this one says home. I am going to give it one coat of the Venetian Yellow by Rust-Oleum milk paint, and then I'm going to let it fully dry. And then it's time to just attach it to the board. I am going to attach it towards the bottom right side of the board because we are going to attach this to a wreath form. This wreath form has been thrifted for a long time. I've had it hanging on my wall, just sitting there, and I thought this would be the perfect project. I hot glued the board, and because it is cardboard, again, it is really easy to attach with hot glue. I'm going to take these fern picks from Dollar Tree. I'm going to take 4 of them, and I'm going to start placing them to the left side of the wreath form. And you're going to start seeing that I'm going to just kind of thread them in between each other because I do not want to have any bow or flowers in the center. I want this to look very natural. So I'm just going to thread them in between each other with some hot glue, fluffing where I need it. Then I'm going to take these little yellow pigs that I got at Walmart last year, and I'm going to start placing them here and there to just kind of add a pop of color and also complement the yellow in the home. And then I'm going to add these larger leaves in the center just to cover any glue that you may be able to see. And then that's it for the flowers. Then I'm going to add some burlap ribbon, and we're going to do something different. Instead of adding a bow to the actual wreath, I'm going to tie it in a knot, and then I'm going to make a bow on top of the knot. This is going to just give it a very natural, relaxed look, and it's not going to clutter the wreath form. And I gotta say, it's one of my favorite wreath forms that I've ever made, and I've made many. It just looks so natural, so fresh. I love the simplicity of it. And I just love it. You gotta let me know what you think of this one down in the comments. For the next cardboard hack, I'm going to take a larger piece of cardboard and two bowls. They came together in a set, but the larger one I'm going to use for the bottom. I'm just going to trace half of the bowl, and the little one's going to go on top, and I'm going to do the same thing, just trace the half of it. Then I'm going to join in with a yardstick here because we're going to create a large Easter egg for decorative purposes, of course. I slightly rounded off those sides just to make it look a little bit more like an egg. And then using my blade knife, I'm just going to cut it once again. And then we're going to have a nice egg shaped. I think it turned out pretty good. I was surprised. I'm going to spray adhesive spray all over the egg. And I'm going to use the same craft paper that I had before. And I'm just going to cover it up. And then in the center, I'm going to add a little bit more bright color with this like deep red. And in that way, it's just going to add a contrast. I'm just going to add it right in the center. I'm going to flip it over and then I'm just going to cut off the excess paper. All right, so I'm going to take this greenery vine that I've had for a while and I'm going to hot glue a piece of it to the upper left corner of the egg. And then this cute little coral flower, I'm just going to hot glue it right there on the top. This is another set of those wooden words from Dollar Tree. This one says family, and I'm just going to hot glue it just bare wood like this. I'm not even going to paint it. And then I'm going to add some of these lacy ribbon from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to make a very simple bow, keep it very simple. I'm just going to adjust it to the size that I need, and then I'm going to hot glue it to the bottom of the flower. Very simple. And then I am going to add some more of that nautical rope to hide the cardboard look on the sides. And that way it's just going to look finished and professional. And I gotta say, this is one of my favorites. I love the size of this egg. I think it's so beautiful. Those colors, the coral flower, I just think it's stunning. And that family little wooden word, again, with no paint on it. And I found this beautiful frame. It's not too beautiful right now, but it has so much potential. It is really thick and is really real wood. I loved it. I'm going to remove the inside of it, and I realized there's a lot of cardboard in there. I gave it a good wipe, and then I decided to sand it down just a little bit. It felt a little grimy and just rough to the touch. So I sanded it down just to smooth it out and remove any grime that it may have. Wiped it again really well. Now I want to place this planked board that I got at the Target dollar spot. It was $3. I removed the back from it, sanded down any remaining piece of it. Then I'm going to take one of the cardboards that was already measured in size to the inside of the frame. I'm going to trace it on the board and I'm going to cut it using my miter saw. Once I had it cut, I want to make sure it fits and it fit perfect. I'm going to use a combination of permanent glue as well as hot glue to place that board in first. Then I'm going to hot glue all the pieces of cardboard that came with it except for one right on top of it. Because of the board that I placed at the bottom is a lot thicker than the glass it had, I did have to add one more piece of cardboard, but this one's thinner, one that I had here at home from a piece of box. And then that way it's still going to clip and be very snug. Once I have everything in place, I'm just going to give it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint and the white. I also want to paint these little tiny, they look like little legs that I got at the crafting aisle section at Dollar Tree. I'm going to place some masking tape with the stickiest side up, and I'm going to place them right on there. This is going to help keep them straight and not move around on me while I paint them white. And I'm using, again, Waverly chalk paint in the white, so that way it matches the tray. So what we're going to create is a little decorizer, a little jewelry tray, or whatever we want to use it for. Now that it's nicely dry, I'm going to bring in one of these rub-on transfers from Dollar Tree. These are so cool and so fun. This one has a very girly vintage look. I'm going to cut it in strips of maybe about 1.5 inches. And then I'm going to start placing it all around the rim of the tray. And you just want to find something that's hard enough where you can start rubbing it on. And what you want to do is you want to pull on the plastic and rub kind of like at the same time until the transfer is completely transferred. It's really easy and fun. And remember, you can cut these transfers as you need it. I am so loving how this is turning out. It's so cute. Okay, so now that it is completely on there, you can seal it if you want with a top coat. I'm not going to do it because I don't think it needs it, but you certainly can if you want. I'm going to attach the little legs, again, using a combination of permanent glue and hot glue just to give me a quick dry as well as a permanent hold. And then that's it for this one. I gotta say, it's one of my favorites from today. Look how stunning this looks. That rub-on transfer is so beautiful. I love the way it attached. Has a little bit of distressed look. Gorgeous. While at the thrift store, I also found this beautiful square black frame. It is very sturdy once again, and it just had just a perfect look for what I'm thinking. I'm going to remove the price tag, of course, and then I'm going to remove the center, which was stapled. I just pretty much pressed on it and then removed it. There was a couple of staples left over. I just removed it with some tools. No big deal. Then it's time to bring in some more paint. Now this time I'm going to give it one coat of Waverly chalk paint in the white as a base coat, almost as a primer. And then I'm going to use some of this Highland Blue milk paint by Rust-Oleum, and I'm going to do 2 coats of that. It is gorgeous. This color is stunning. I love the way it looks. Once it was completely dry, I'm going to take my sanding block from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to sand it in the direction of the grain. This is going to allow some of that black and white to pop through in the distressed look. When I sand down chalk paint or milk paint is very dusty, so before I start just brushing it, I like to sometimes just use my vacuum to remove most of it and then use my brush to remove it. And a rag too you can use. Look how pretty that looks. I love it. All right, we're going to flip it over and we're going to bring in a doily from Dollar Tree. You can find these there all the time, and I'm going to start stapling it, making sure that I'm tugging lightly here and there to make sure that it's going to be nice and straight in the center. I am using my electric stapler, but you can certainly use a manual one. Then I did have to just kind of pound it a little bit with the hammer to make sure they're nicely on there and not going to scratch any surface. I'm going to use my rotary cutter just to cut off the excess doily, because that way it's going to look nice and professional and just clean. And I think using the cutter was much easier. Then I'm going to put a couple of these sawtooth hooks to the back, and that's it. Look how pretty. It could be used as an earring hanger, or it could be used just as a decor. I love it. These flat, thin, large canvases, and I brought home a couple. I wanted to make some custom signs, and we're going to start with this one. They're pretty large, and I love making large items that I can either resell or put in my own decor and really stand out. I give it one coat of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white, and I always forget to add this little Lazy Susan. It makes painting so much easier. I'm going to take a small thin point permanent marker and my ruler. I'm just going to start making some stripes. This is going to give it a look of a planked sign. I'm going to bring in one of Essential Stencils. This one is gorgeous and it's so large. It says count your blessings, and it's a little snug for the sign, but it worked out really well. I'm going to center it as close as possible to each edge. And then this is one of the brushes from Essential Stencil, and I'm going to use Waverly chalk paint and the ink, and I'm just going to start stenciling it. I'm using a new technique, which is adding very little amount of paint on your brush and then just kind of going in a circular motion instead of going up and down. I saw them doing this in a tutorial recently, and I thought, let me try it, and it was perfect. I never strive for perfection, but let me tell you, this was as perfect or as close as perfect as it could be. Now I'm going to take these little flat dowels. They're bamboo. I get them on Amazon, and they're perfect for crafting. They're very flexible, very easy to customize in size. I'm going to stain them using Waverly and taking wax, and then I'm just going to place one on the top and one on the bottom. I'm going to mark and cut with my miter shears, and then I'm going to hot glue in one to the top and one to the bottom. I wanted to add a little bit of greenery. I love the white, black, and green combination. So I had these leftover leaf picks from another bundle, and I'm just going to hot glue them to the left side of the sign, because right next to that B, there's like that little empty side, and I just wanted to fill it in. I'm going to add some hot glue to the back and a little bit of this nautical rope from Dollar Tree to be able to hang the sign, and I think it's stunning. It has such a traditional farmhouse look. I love the stencil. It is just gorgeous. Look how beautiful. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take another one of those canvases, and I'm going to give it again one coat of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white and let it dry. This bundle of stencils is called Love Like Jesus, and they're beautiful. They're meant to make these little tiny signs, but I ended up choosing one, and I'm just going to place it towards the bottom right corner of the sign. I'm going to tape it, and that way it's not going to move on me. I'm going to use another one of Essential Stencils stencil brushes. They're wonderful. And I'm going to use this Farmhouse Red chalk paint by Rust-Oleum. And again, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to grab some paint. I'm going to thin it out in the cap, and then I'm going to use a towel to remove excess paint. And then I'm going to start just stenciling, doing the round and around motion, and that worked really well. I found one that I thought would look great in the upper left corner of the sign. I cut it out. I'm just going to peel it from the back, and then I'm going to lightly place it right where I want it. I'm leaving some space on the edges because I am going to frame this one. I'm going to use a scraper, but you can use whatever you want, something that you can just start pressing on the paper or the plastic and start rubbing on. The technique that I've learned to use is basically you just want to rub on and lift very little, very slowly until all the transfer has transferred to your surface, just like that. I did decide to add a couple other ones here and there. And look how pretty this is looking. It's so romantic. I love it. All right, so now onto the framing. We're going to use those same flat dowels. Again, we're just going to mark, cut, and hot glue all around the edges. And we're just about done with this one. Such a beautiful, romantic look this sign has. I love the red and the white, but let me tell you, these transfers are gorgeous. I love all the detail. Just so great to make custom signs. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take one of these wooden shelves from Dollar Tree. It comes with the shelf, the string, and a little ring so that you can hang the shelf from. But we're not going to use those. We're going to make a little vertical sign. I'm going to give it one coat of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white. Of course, we're going to let it fully dry. After it dried, it was a little rough to the touch, so I'm just going to lightly sand it with a very fine sanding block, and it's just going to smooth it out so that my transfer can rub on very nicely. I dusted it and wiped it really well, and now look at these rub-on transfers. They are St. Patrick's Day themed, and although I don't necessarily celebrate St. Patrick's, I thought it was so cute, very festive, and they would make great gifts for either teachers or family members. Like I said, it's going to be a vertical sign, so I grabbed this little farmhouse truck with gnomes on them. So adorable. And again, I'm just going to start rubbing it on and lifting as I go. And look how cute that looks. It's perfect. I'm also going to bring in these stencils, and I am going to just tape it to the top of the farmhouse truck, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to stencil it with very little paint in the brush, remove the excess, and start doing the circular motion technique. Doesn't that look so pretty? That green against the white? Gorgeous. All right, we're going to do something very different here. I'm going to take this nautical rope from Dollar Tree and I'm going to knot it. I'm going to make sure that this knot is really tight. Then I'm going to cut off the excess from the top and the excess from the bottom, making sure that I'm cutting as close as possible to the knot. And then I'm going to hot glue it on top of each little tiny hole that you see on the sign. This is why I did not fill them, because I knew I wanted to create something like this. I'm going to do that all four corners. Once I had them all done, I'm going to flip it over and I'm just going to add some nautical rope to the back. Again, this is just to give us the option to hang it, or it'll just look like it has it and we don't have to hang it if we don't want to. But look how cute this turned out. It's definitely one of my favorites. Very surprised because I don't decorate for St. Patrick's Day, but I think it's so stinking cute. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take this little dry erase board that I found in the craft section at Dollar Tree. I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm going to cut off another one of these rub-on transfers with the St. Patrick's Day theme, and I'm going to place it right in the center. I didn't do anything to the frame because I thought the color of the frame really complemented the design of the rub-on transfer, and I think it worked out really well. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to rub and pull as I go. I was surprised as to how well these rub-on transfer really stuck to the shiny surface of the dry erase board. I loved it. I'm going to take these little faux ferns that I already had on hand from another project. I'm going to cut some little parts from the end and just hot glue it very carefully, small amount of glue, because I want it to look very natural as I do not want to add anything to the center. I removed the back jute string. I'm just going to add some ribbon to add a little bit more of a custom look, and we can hang these little sign. And I gotta tell you, again, this one is one of my favorites. I think it's so pretty. I love the white and the green with the light brown color. I think it's gorgeous. Again, one that you can gift someone who loves St. Patrick's Day or just add to your own decor. For the next craft, I'm going to take this little wooden house that I got at Target Dollar Spot. It came in a set of 2, I believe, and this one had a brown tone. So I'm going to lighten it up with some Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white. And I'm going to do a dry brush technique because I do not want any paint to drip on the inside of the little windows. Although a little bit got in there, but using the dry brush technique really helped. So I'm just going to keep adding layers until I have what I want. I left the sides brown because I wanted to have more of a farmhouse distressed look. Once I had it dry, I am going to take this other rub-on transfer with the roses design. I picked this one because it has a flat side that's going to look great on this house. So I'm just going to keep placing it and just kind of keep moving it up until I see where I love to see it. I'm going to press it down, and then again, we're just going to rub it on and lift the plastic slowly but surely until the entire transfer is transferred. Now with this one, because the little windows are on there, I did have to grab an X-Acto knife and just cut off the little excess transfer that you see there so that we can still have that window look. Once I had it where I wanted it, I took my sanding block and I am going to sand down the edges as well as the design to give it a little bit more of a distressed look. And let me tell you, these rub-on transfer distressed beautifully. I loved it. I kind of kept the same green look going vertically. And I loved it so much, I decided to add one more. So I grabbed a smaller one and I added it to the other corner, rubbed it on, removed the plastic, and did the same exact thing. I just sanded it down on the edges and distressed the top very lightly. This gave the whole house a whole new look, a very romantic farmhouse look, and I loved it. This transfer looks like it's been on this house since the beginning, and I think it's so beautiful. But again, I'm so biased because I made these bamboo rings that I recently found. They come 2 in a pack, and one of them is larger than the other one. I loved these when I saw them, and I grabbed them, and I am going to make something so cute. So first thing I want to do is I want to paint them. I'm going to give them each 1 coat of Waverly chalk paint in the white. I'm also going to take 3 of these bamboo flat dowels. So I'm going to paint 3 of them. I ended up needing 1 more, but I'll show you that in a little bit. Here's the canvas that's going to be my background. I thrifted this for $3.99 recently on a trip to the thrift store. And I'm going to give it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the moss. Once everything was dry, I'm going to take the 2 rings and then the dowels. I'm going to just start cutting pieces that fit inside each ring. I'm going to make this into a bicycle, like a decorative bike. So I want the rings to be the wheels, and so I'm just going to cut them using my miter shear, and I'm just going to cut 3 for each. Now I ended up needing 4, but I'll do that in a little bit. So once I had everything cut and my canvas was nice and dry, I'm going to attach the rings. So I want the larger one to be towards the front of the bike, and then the smaller one towards the back of the bike. I'm just going to attach it using some hot glue. I'm also going to attach the inner pieces of the wheels with hot glue, and I'm just going to crisscross them. Now, this is when I realized that I should have had 4 per each. I wanted originally 3, but they wouldn't fit quite right. So then I just added 2, and then I said, okay, let me just add the third one, and then I'll just have to create 1 more for each wheel, which was no big deal. It's really easy. I painted another dowel. I cut it to size of each wheel, and then let it dry. While those were dry, I'm just going to start hand painting the actual bike. I'm just going to do whatever, I don't know, whatever my heart feels and free-handed here. I'm just going to make the handles, a seat, and I'm going to use Waverly chalk paint in the white and just like a medium size brush. This is just going to give it that nice hand painted look. The star of the painting is the wheels, of course, and I'm going to add some florals. So once I had it where I wanted it, I'm going to bring in some pink, very hot pink florals that I got a couple of years back from Amazon. They weren't my favorite at the time, but I think for this design actually worked. I cut 4 little branches and I'm just going to join them together using some nautical rope from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to wrap it around several times, secure it in place with some hot glue, and then once I had them joined, I'm just going to hot glue this one on the top of the smaller wheel. And then once I had hot glue, I'm just going to kind of separate the little branches, the flowers, some going down, some going up, just to add a little bit of character and just some whimsiness to it. I'm going to do the same thing to the larger wheel, except I'm just going to pick about 3 of them. And I'm going to join them together all facing the same way. I'm going to join it with some nautical rope and hot glue it just like I did the previous one. Once I had them where I wanted them, I am going to attach those last couple of pieces. I think this really finished it off. I'm so glad I went with 4 instead of 3. It just looks seamless and just beautiful. You're going to have to let me know what you think of this one. It's one of my favorite things I've ever made, at least hand painting wise. Although the wheels were not hand painted, I love the way it looked. It's perfect for spring. For this next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take one of these little Valentine's Day craft signs from Dollar Tree. I'm going to remove the little plaque from it and the jute string. And then we're going to take some of these dusting mops from Dollar Tree. One of them I already used for another project, but we're going to use the large one first. We're just going to hot glue it right on top. Very easy. You've seen me use these dusting mops before. They just add a lot of texture and coziness to any decor, any craft you make. Then I'm going to add the other piece right next to it. Once I add it, I'm just kind of fluff it in the middle so they kind of join together and you would never know that they were 2 separate pieces. Just like magic. I'm going to flip it over and I'm just going to cut the X's all around the heart. I'm not going to lie, you know this is messy, but take your time, be patient, and just trim here and there where you need it until you have what you want. I'm going to take this little beautiful peony from Amazon. I get them in bundles, and this is a beautiful pink. I'm going to use some other ones towards the end of the video, but this one we're just going to hot glue right there towards the right side of the heart. And I'm just going to move the leaves around until I kind of know where I want them and then hot glue them in place. Instead of just leaving them wherever they fell, I just felt like it just needed to be moved around just a little bit. I'm going to add these tiny little flowers. I think I got these at home if I'm not mistaken. Just going to take 3. 2 to the right side and 1 to the left side. So dainty, so pretty. I thought it needed something else. I found this jute and pink kind of ribbon. I want to say it was maybe Dollar General, but it could be Dollar Tree. I'm going to make a very simple ball. Just loop it in the center, scrunch it, tie with a jute string, and then hot glue it underneath the flower. I think this just added just enough touch of that ribbon to make it very cool. And then I'm going to add a small little jute string to the back, secure with hot glue as well as some duct tape, and that's it for this one. It's such an easy craft. I love the background. I love that it's so fluffy and bright, and that pink flower is just the perfect amount of color. Beautiful. Every day I got your back, yeah, you can count on me for that. The next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take this love sign from Dollar Tree and I'm going to remove the jute string as well as the little wreath that it came with it. Although it's very pretty as it is, it's not quite my style, so I'm going to judge it up just a little bit. I'm going to remove the glue and just sand it down quite a bit just to kind of make sure any glue that's there would be removed. After I wiped it very well, I'm going to give it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the white. And there you have it, nice and dry and bright. Now I'm going to bring in the same ribbon from earlier, and we are going to trace the L, the V, and the E of the sign. And I'm just going to kind of measure, cut, and hot glue as needed. So as you can see, it's very easy to do this, and you can use any ribbon you may have. I think a white ribbon, like a lacy one, would have looked beautiful too. I just didn't have any. I'm going to take this little tiny wreath form from the Target dollar spot. They come 3 in a little pack for $3. I'm going to hot glue one right around the O. Then I'm going to take this leftover roses on this pick as well as the little leafy greens. And I'm going to hot glue the leafy greens first to fill in some of the gaps from the wreath. And then I'm going to take the roses and just hot glue them towards the kind of like right upper corner of the O. And that way it just looks nice and pretty. This frame I got at Dollar Tree. It had some decor on it. I used it for another DIY during the fall season. I'm just going to hot glue the love right on the kind of right bottom side. And I did mark where I needed to hot glue. That way I knew exactly where it was going to be glued at. And look how beautiful this looks. Talk about taking any simple craft that you find at Dollar Tree and making it your own. Love it. Square aisle and found these beautiful wooden items, including these planked boards. I grabbed 4 of them and brought them home. I am going to make a faux window. I'm sure you see something similar like this, but I wanted to make it because they just screamed that window. So I'm going to remove the little bead hanging portion, but I'm going to put those to the side because I'm going to come back to them for another DIY. I removed all of them, and then I am going to join each board. Now I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and permanent glue. Just going to put a little bit of each. That way I have a strong hold, but also a fast hold. After I attached all 4 of them together, I realized that some of it did not just hold very well, or at least there was a gap. So I want to cover it up using these flat dowels. I'm just going to start marking and cutting with my miter shears, which, by the way, I do have on my Amazon store as well. And I'm going to start covering up those gaps. Then I decided to just go ahead and trim the whole thing because it just added this cute little touch, and it just kind of brought everything together. And that's what I did. Once I had the window completely built, I'm going to give it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the white. While the window dries, I'm going to take this thrifted wreath. Now, this wreath form is gorgeous. It has like a wire form, and then they covered it in this beautiful grapevine style. I thrifted it a while ago, and I just want to give it a new look for Valentine's Day or maybe even spring. I'm going to take these magnolia leaves, little picks that I have. I had them for so long, and I keep using little pieces of them. I put one to the top right, and then another one to the bottom right. Then I'm going to take some of these boxwood that I get from Amazon, and I'm just going to place them here and there just to fill it in. These sunflowers are beautiful. I got them at Home Goods. They were on clearance for $8, 3 of them. I thought they were a great deal, such good quality, and I love that color. I took one of the leaves and I added it to the top portion, and then I'm just going to hot glue the sunflower white to the center. I realized that the window was not sturdy enough, so I want to give it some support on the back. So I added 3 painter sticks and I stapled them to place. This worked very well. I'm going to take this tiny little hook, and I'm just going to place it on the back, making sure that the open side is facing downward. This is because I want to add one of these jute strings to the wreath form, and we're going to hang it so that it is tied on the back of it, just like you see here. And that's it for this one. What a beautiful faux window. Did not spend much money at all. This wreath is gorgeous right on top of it. It's one of my favorites. For the next Dollar Tree DIY, I'm going to take these 2 little wooden flowers. You can get them at a Dollar Tree. They come in a little pack, and my crocodile, and I'm just going to crop a hole right on top of each. I do have the crocodile in my Amazon store as well. I'm going to give it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in their pink tone. Actually, it was 1 coat. and then I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to take those beads that it came with, or the little boards came with, and I'm going to remove them, and I'm going to make a little bead garland. Why not? I already had the beads and I thought they were gorgeous. Already had that, like this beautiful whitewash look. I'm going to thread them using some of these stitch needles because it makes it so much easier. And I don't have a specific pattern. I'm just threading them. Once I reach the end, I'm going to bring the little flowers and I'm just going to attach them. I'm going to thread it through a little hole. I'm going to bring the jute string up and then I'm going to thread it through that last bead. And this way it's going to give me the knot in between two beads instead of the flower and the bead. So once I thread it through that bottom bead, I'm just going to tie it. You're going to see me do it a couple of knots. And then that way the knot is going to fit right inside that bead and you won't even see that knot. I did the same thing on the other side and that's it. I kept them so simple. I thought about adding something to the flowers, but I love simplicity and I love how dainty and cute they look. For the next Dollar Tree DIY, I'm going to take this wreath form. It is a wire, it is heart-shaped, and it's a pretty good size. I'm also going to take one of these towels from the automobile section at Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut them into strips. If you have fabric scissors, this is the best way to cut these towels. My regular scissors were not doing a good job, but fabric scissors are awesome, and I do have these in my Amazon store. I cut the strips to about 2.5, maybe some of them 3 inches. No need for them to be completely even. I'm going to start wrapping the wreath form all around. There's no magic to this, no special technique. Pretty much just make sure that all the seams are on the back of the wreath form. That way it's going to look nice and clean in the front. Wrapping it up, and then I'm just going to cut off some of those back little corners just so that it's cleaner. You don't need to because they're in the back, but just so that it's a bit more smooth and clean. I'm going to take these faux ferns from Dollar Tree and I'm going to grab 2 of each color. They have like a lighter color and a dark color, and I'm going to place 2 facing down and 2 facing up on the left side of the heart. I'm going to then take this beautiful flower, also from Home Goods, on sale. I grabbed a bundle, and this one is leftover from Christmas, and I just hot glued it right in the center. Doesn't that look so pretty? Then I'm going to take these little grassy picks. I'm just going to take 2 of the little grass, hot glue them to the top, and 1 to the bottom. This is just going to add a little bit of touch of greenery. This heart is stunning. It's definitely my favorite from today. Has such a romantic look to it. Beautiful. For the next DIY, I'm going to take this farmhouse truck. I got at Dollar General for $15. I thought it was a great deal. I got it about a couple of years ago. I used it just like it came, just like you see, but then I placed it in a shelf and I was just not in love with the purple. So I'm just going to give it a new look, perfect for either Valentine's or spring. I already removed all of my decor from Christmas and I have winter decor, but adding some Valentine's Day decor here and there to it just adds so much festive feel. I removed all the florals from it and I just added a fresh coat of this moss from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to bring in a couple of these magnolia leaves picks. Once again, I'm just going to add them towards the back of the bed. Here's another one of those flowers. Now it is missing a few petals. I'm going to try to make it work. I'm just going to place it right towards the front there. And some of these little pink flowers that I believe are from Walmart, I'm going to cut different little branches from it. I'm just going to start adding them here and there, making sure that the ones in the back are taller and the ones on the front are shorter. I'm going to use one of them in the front to cover where the petals are missing. And I think this truck is stunning. This is my console table and that's where I placed it, and that's where it's going to live all through spring. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take this wooden heart sign from Dollar Tree and I'm going to remove the little black portion from it very carefully because I do want to reuse it. I'm not going to remove the paper from the front, but you can do that if you want to. I'm just going to sand it down using my electric sander. It's quicker and it just roughens up that surface and it keeps it very matte because we are going to give it a couple of coats of paint. So I'm just going to wipe it down really well and then give it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the white, and then of course let it fully dry. I am then going to bring in these printable that I got, and I printed here in a laser printer. Now, I have never attached or transferred any color printed graphics on anything. I've always used Mod Podge with just like a black and white design. So this is going to be a first for me. Let's see if it works out. I'm going to apply some Mod Podge. This is after I remove the excess paper from around the design. Once I had the Mod Podge where I wanted it, I'm just going to place the design, making sure that I smooth out any bubbles and that it is as attached as possible. My mistake was that I did not give it enough time for it to dry, and you're going to see here in a minute what happened. But I'm going to put it to the side and let it dry. The little black board, I am going to paint in that pink again from Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I'm going to give it 2 coats. This is just going to add it to the design, some color, and it's going to look so cute. All right, so here's where things go a little south. I'm going to use the wet rag, and I'm sure you've seen this before. You just want to wet the surface with a damp towel and just start removing that top portion of the paper and revealing the design. Because I did not give it enough time to dry, it did remove a lot of the design. It was my fault. I should have left it for a few more hours, but I just wanted to rush it. I was impatient. Now, I am going to make it work because it does have a distressed look, and I do like that look. Although I was not planning on it, we're going to make it work. So I removed as much as possible from that paper. Then I'm going to take a permanent marker, and I'm just going to write the word Valentine's right on the little pink board. Simple. I'm going to hot glue it to the bottom of the heart. That way it has the same kind of look that it had originally. These beads I already had on hand. They were already stained this color from previous projects. Some of them are brown, some are yellow, some are blue. So I'm just going to start creating some sort of pattern that kind of matches the amount of beads I have. I'm going to thread it through the top just like I did with the bead garland. I'm going to just thread it through the first bead and tie it and make sure that you do not see that knot. And I did the same thing on the other side, and that's it for this one. Now, I gotta say, I kind of like the way it turned out. I was gonna add some florals, but I said, you know what, let's just leave it like this. I think it's so, so cute. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take this canvas style sign from Dollar Tree. You can find these all the time in the picture frame area. So I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to give it 2 coats of Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the linen white, and of course let it dry. Then I'm going to take this round brush. It's kind of like a waxing brush. I'm also going to take some Rust-Oleum chalk paint in the country gray, and I'm just going to make some stripes going from top to bottom. The stripes are going to be about 2 inches apart from each other. And then I'm going to bring in one of the Dollar Tree decals. You know, I love using these decals. They're so wonderful to use. And this one has a beautiful scripture. There's one of my favorites. And it's about love. So I thought it was perfect. I'm going to place it to the right side of the sign. And that's it. It doesn't get any easier than this. I just placed it the best I could, making sure there's no bubbles. And I think it turned out so adorable. How cute would this be added to any decor already in your home? Just to add a little bit of scripture, but also just a beautiful message, perfect for Valentine's or any other day of the year. On a recent trip to Dollar Tree, I found these beautiful wrapping papers, and you know I love wrapping paper and crafting with them. I brought several of the styles home, and I am going to transform this farmhouse truck. I'm not going to pretend you haven't seen like about 100 versions of these farmhouse trucks, but I'm going to give you one more idea. I am going to cut a piece of the wrapping paper to fit the truck, and then I'm going to cover with some masking tape the little rails portion. I'm going to spray the top of the farmhouse truck with some adhesive spray, and then the piece that I cut of wrapping paper was actually backwards, so I had to cut another piece, place it on top, and now I'm just cutting off the excess paper from all around the edges. I'm also going to poke where all the little like wheels and the windows are. And then I'm going to use a technique that I learned from my upcycled life. I love this technique. You take a lighter just like this, and you just very carefully, of course, burn the edges. They're going to burn just all the way up to the edge of the wood. This has to be done in a ventilated place. Make sure that you have water near you. Just take all the precautions as needed. But the effect that it gives it is stunning. It burns all the way down to the edge, and it gives it this burnt vintage antique look that I really love. Look how stunning that looks. I'm going to take my X-Acto knife. I'm just going to cut off that top portion where the masking tape was and just going to remove it. Look how pretty it's already looking. You can leave it like this with the brown tone. I did decide to paint it white. I'm just going to use some Waverly chalk paint in the white, and then I'm going to use some antiquing wax by Waverly, and I'm just going to antique it just a little bit all around the edges. This is just going to add a little bit more character, and it's also going to match the style overall. I'm going to take these little cute little flowers. I believe I got these, I don't think it was at Dollar Tree. I think it was Walmart. I'm just going to cut a couple little branches and hot glue them to the back of the truck. That way it's going to look like the bed of the truck is filled with these beautiful flowers. I'm going to cover the back with some masking tape just to make it a little cleaner and smoother. Then I'm going to take my little nail filer here. I'm just going to smooth off just those little flaky edges just a little bit. I'm going to add a couple of these wooden blocks from Dollar Tree behind each tire. That way it's going to be able to be standing up, and I love this one. I cannot believe how beautiful it looks. Such a beautiful decor to add to your Valentine's Day. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take this galvanized heart I found in the crafting section. I removed the tag, and then I'm going to take this beautiful wrapping paper. It has this beautiful pink tone with these hearts on it. And I'm going to cut several strips of about 2 inches. I'm not too worried about them being exactly 2 inches. I'm just going to cut several strips as close as possible to the same size of each other. I'm going to join them together, and then I'm going to cut them in pieces that are 4-inch wide. I'm going to stack them up, and then I'm going to take 2 at a time, and I'm just going to face them back to back, and I'm going to fold them and just kind of scrunch them on the bottom to make a little something like this. Then I'm going to make a whole ton of them because we are going to start hot gluing them inside the heart. The key to this is to make sure that you are hot gluing them as close to each other as possible. But don't stress if you can see a little bit of the galvanized in between. We're going to fix that in a little bit. So I'm going to add the last one here, but as I mentioned before, you're going to see a little bit through those, and you're going to see some of those galvanized. I'm just going to add a few here and there, right in between where you see the little gaps, and a little bit of hot glue goes a long way. Then I took these little flowers, same ones from earlier, just another little branch. I'm going to take off the leafy greens as well as the flowers, and I'm going to start hot gluing each little flower bud in between here and there the paper. This is just going to add a beautiful touch. And then I'm going to take the greenery leafy part, and I'm going to cut them into separate little leaves. And then I'm just going to hot glue them here and there to add that vibrant touch of green. I think the green really made a huge difference. It's just stunning. I left the jute string, but I think ribbon will look beautiful. Look how stunning this looks. It's definitely one of my favorites from today. I love the vibrant pink. Stunning. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I'm going to take 3 of these galvanized hearts that you can find in the crafting section of Dollar Tree. I grabbed 3 because I have a plan for them. Look at this beautiful wrapping paper. Wow, this one is stunning. I'm going to open it up. I'm just going to place all 3 hearts right next to each other, and I'm going to trace them. Nothing perfect, really just tracing them. And once I have them traced, I'm going to cut each and every one of them separately. Again, not looking for perfect cut because we are going to make these hearts smaller than what they already are. Once I have them cut, I'm going to fold them in half, and then I am going to cut about a 1/2 inch inside of the edge of each heart. This is going to give me a smaller heart, nicely cut, that's going to fit right in the center of the galvanized heart with a nice edge showing. I am now going to take the Gorilla adhesive spray once again. I'm just going to spray the back of the paper of each heart. And then I'm going to place them in the center of each galvanized heart. I'm going to just lightly press it. And then I'm going to start from the bottom up and just kind of fold and press in between each ridge. That way we're going to keep the beautiful design that these galvanized hearts have. And it's very easy. And I'm going to do the same thing with the other 2 hearts. And now that I have them done, I'm going to flip them over, and I'm going to set them one on top of each other, just like you see, just about 2 inches apart from each other. Then I'm going to take this beautiful lace ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm going to hot glue it all the way from the bottom to the top. What I'm going to do on the top here is I am going to fold it just like that, just loop it. I'm going to cut off the excess and hot glue it to itself. This is going to give me a portion on the top where I can hang the decor from. Look how beautiful it already looks. I'm going to take these roses from Dollar Tree and I'm going to cut 3 of them. I'm going to take the leafy part portion first and I'm going to hot glue it on the top of each heart. I'm going to take the rose apart and then I'm going to cut off just a little bit of the remaining stem of the rose and hot glue it on top of each leafy green. Again, that green really just makes this beautiful touch of color, and I think this one is just so beautiful. It is quite large, and I just love that these galvanized hearts at that beautiful shape. I just think it's stunning. For the next Dollar Tree craft, I am going to take these wooden shelf. You can find these in the picture frame area, and I'm just going to cut off a piece of the same rose wrapping paper, and I'm going to start tearing the sides. I love using this technique. I'm going to use the same wooden shelf to guide me because I want it to look torn but not too much. So I'm just going to do the same thing on all edges. That way all of them are going to have that nice torn look. I'm going to dry fit it just to see if I need to cut more, and I did. The sides were just a little too snug, so I'm just going to cut about another 1/4 of an inch, and that did the work. I'm going to bring in some white paint. This is just going to paint the edges. I don't need the whole thing painted because you're not going to see the whole thing, but you are going to see those edges. So I'm just going to paint it with some white Waverly chalk paint and let that dry. I'm going to take these wooden numbers from Dollar Tree. I'm going to grab number 4, number 1, and number 2. This is going to be for February 14th, which is Valentine's Day. I'm going to paint him in this beautiful green color by Bear, and I am going to just let that dry. 1 coat was sufficient. I'm going to take some Mod Podge, and I way overdid it. I don't know what I was thinking. I weighed too much on it, but I did grab a little towel, and I just removed the excess. I don't know what I was thinking. I just took my time very patiently, and I just got it until it was nice, thin coat. Once I had it where I wanted, I'm just going to place the paper right on top. It did get some bubbles. I have lost my battle with Mod Podge. I don't know what to do, but I have learned to just appreciate the bubbles. I flattened them out as much as I could, and then I took the 2, the 1, and the 4, placed them to the bottom right. I'm going to hot glue them in place, but I'm going to leave a little space in between the 1 and the 2. And that is about it for this one. What a beautiful concept. I love having the 2, the 1, and the 4. I think it's just very clever, very subtle. And I love the paper, and I love the way it looks. For the next wrapping paper hack, I am going to take this thrifted flag sign that I found at Goodwill, and I'm just going to sand it down just a little bit because it had a little bit of a rough edge to it, just a little bit of a rough feel. I'm going to paint the edges just like I did the previous one. This one's going to be a little bit like the previous one, but I'm going to show you something different. I'm going to take this beautiful wrapping paper. Now, this one's not from Dollar Tree. I did find this one at, I think it was Home Goods. It was such a great quality, and the design was beautiful. But you can do this with any Dollar Tree wrapping paper. I'm going to mark kind of like with my fingers where those edges are, and then I'm going to tear again. Again, I said that it's going to be similar to the one before, but this time I'm not going to have anything guide me. I'm going to tear it up, literally. I want these tear to be thick, very torn. Once I had it where I wanted, I'm going to add Mod Podge once again. This time I was very careful. I just added it until I had a thin coat. And then I'm going to place it just like I did the other one right in the center. I got bubbles in this one again, even using the little roller. I don't know what to do. But in the end, it turned out fine. I'm going to add some Mod Podge on this one right on top to seal it. This wrapping paper is thicker, so I want it to be nice and protected. Once I had it in place and all dry, I am going to sand it down. This is going to give it a little bit more of distressed look, farmhouse look. I did end up distressing the edges just a little bit more with my sanding block. Once I had them in place, I'm going to take these beautiful little flowers that I got at Dollar Tree and some greenery, grassy ones, and I'm going to place them right in the center. I'm going to drill a couple of holes on each side of the bundle. I'm going to thread some jute string so that we can tie them on the back. Once I had it in place, I'm going to take some burlap ribbon. I'm just going to make a very simple bow. I'm going to loop it, scrunch it in the center. I'm going to tie it with some jute string, and I'm going to angle cut the legs.
I'm not scared to take a chance. Yeah, I'm so happy that I found you. And you know that I'm yours.
I'm going to hot glue it right where the jute string is, and this is just going to add a nice touch and also hide the jute string. I'm going to cut off the excess stems from the bottom. I'm going to add a sawtooth hook to the back of it so that we can hang it. And that's it for this one. I gotta say, this one is so beautiful. It has more neutral colors, but still very beautiful. Love the size and the quality of it because it's real wood. I think it's beautiful. But I am biased because I made them, but I'd love to know which one is your favorite and what you think of them. And of course, as always, I have another video here for you. Check it out. I'll see you later and have a blessed day. Bye.